like to open the meeting at 9:10 a.m. and thank you for your attendance. I'd like to move an apology for Councillor Edwards. Leave of absence for this meeting today. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, moving on to the minutes. Do we have anyone to confirm confirmation of the minutes of the 8th of November 2023? Councillor McMullen.
Mayor, I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 8th of November 2023 be confirmed.
We have a second, Councillor Taylor. All those in favour? 8-0.
Page 38.
Okay, page
38.
38, thank you. 8.1, pruning and cutting of trees. I would like to move that Council 1 include in its tree removal policy and procedure that a broad community consultation and a letterbox drop will precede any major tree pruning, cutting, removal of trees within townships or where trees may be significant to ensure the preservation of local significant flora and fauna. 2, offer options to the recently affected residents in Injune to replace the trees that have been removed. A, propagate from the remaining existing eucalyptus tree, or B, replace them with 2 mature trees of the same species as part of Council's maintenance program for towns and surrounds. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish? Councillor Hancock.
Question, Mr.
I've got a question. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
My question is, I'm not against it. I just want to understand
Sure.
what might fall out of this. If we're going to replace them with 2 mature trees in the same spot, are we going to? Why did we cut them down to start with? It was about vision and about being able to see. Are we actually going to be creating the same problem years down the track that which was the reason why we cut them down?
Well, that would be part of the consultation they would do with residents and so forth.
This is not saying consultation. This is saying we're giving them 2 options. We can either propagate or we can replace them. So if this goes through today, we're replacing them. And replace means exactly the same.
So through the chair, what we know is that those trees shouldn't have been chopped down. So it's replacing them. Certainly there was a screening aspect to the trees which was intended. That's part of our normal management process. But clearly I think I interpret the second part of the recommendation to remediate basically what we've already done. And that was by accident as opposed to by design.
So we had no intention. Cause a problem if we replace those trees.
We shouldn't know.
Okay.
We never intended to remove them.
Okay.
Councillor McMullen.
My only concern is, Mr. Mayor, the eucalyptus trees. I don't think they're a good tree to be putting on the footpath. I know we've got a lot of them, but they can be fairly dangerous. That's my only concern.
Well, obviously, I think we do actually watch what happens there with the trees. They do go around and do an audit of trees. The big difference here is that one of the trees was stopped being cut down, and I don't think they were going to do more consultation. So I think they were meant to be pruned, but they weren't meant to be cut off, as far as I understood.
I thought, Mr. Mayor, that the one was rotten.
Well, apparently when they cut it down, the residents said there was no sign of anything. Councillor Ladbrook.
If we're going to replace them with 2 mature trees, we need a price on the mature trees.
Well, yeah, obviously that
price.
will come back to council if they want to do that.
Will it come back to?
That's not part of this. Yeah, you're right. It's
No,
not
it
in
doesn't
here.
say that there. It
No,
doesn't give
but
any
normally
option
they
to
will
that.
do.
Because they wouldn't be cheap, that's all.
Just through the chair, council's always got the option to give us an amount that you think is appropriate. We would take that out of the town and surrounds
Well, if it
maintenance
just
budget.
comes
Just
to
tree
council
replacement.
to see what the
Or-
costings would be.
Yeah, or that, yes,
Would that be okay?
sure. If you want to make an amendment.
Yeah, I'm happy to put an amendment in there that the decision of what the residents would like to do come back to council
With final costings?
with final costings.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy with that. Mr. I thought it not necessarily has to be purchased ones. I know councils in the past have grown their own trees and planted, so that there might be already that in place with our town surrounds. I know
If you-
Bringy used to do that, so.
Replace them with the same species, I don't think eucalyptus will transplant. them.
Oh, anyway, but like, they,
You know, they won't.
we'll leave it to the experts to come back with that.
Bottle tree or something like that.
How many
Eucalyptus.
residents are we talking?
There's a few on the street that are connected to the family
upset.
that actually,
Planted it.
Yeah.
the residents actually hand watered them to grow them. Councillor O'Neill.
Just the part one of this resolution, it implies that we've already got a tree removal policy, but we don't.
Well, we certainly have a tree removal procedure. I mean, you can remove the word policy, or we can bring it back in relation to. We can certainly inform council coming back to you that whether we've got a policy as such. We've got the statutory and the legislative ability to remove, and we certainly can check on the policy, but we definitely have a procedure in relation to that.
No, we definitely don't have a policy.
So I'm happy to remove,
Would it be the council
Tree
develop a tree removal policy and procedure that includes broad community consultation and letterbox drop?
Remembering that a part of this came about was we have a statutory authority who is allowed to remove trees, and the key takeaway I'm taking from this motion and the conversations that have happened in the chamber are that actually we want to make sure that we do consult before we remove something. You could put it into a policy perspective, remembering that that policy will have a direct view to the legislation which allows you to do something, but a policy might be able to just put this into it. So will the procedure. I mean, either way,
Well, the
it works.
procedure's inward facing, a policy outward facing, and,
Yeah, I
and
know,
the
but-
community will be able to see what council decides in relation to this.
Yeah, but as the chamber, you don't have the way the legislation is designed. It's an operational decision about the health of those trees, and it's about the safety of those trees. That's
I'm
the
not suggesting
decisions
we
that are
don't
made.
have that, and all policies should be within legislation. It's the outward facing bit that what you're trying to get at,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is we're going to communicate with the people that are affected by these decisions.
Yep.
And it'll be on our website if it's a policy, and people will know that that's what this council has decided to do.
Yep. And you can also include as part of that policy, you know, where the statutory provisions, such as where an emergency arises, council will do that, and you may be communicating in retrospect, yeah. But you've got a number of trees that you need to think about just coming up if you're going to develop a policy in relation to that.
yeah, so I'm happy to
So-
change that to, one would be
Develop a policy.
develop a tree removal policy. Anyway, and
That includes broad community consultation?
yeah, the rest of it keeps
Yep,
going.
sure.
Yeah, you just need to tweak a little bit.
Develop a tree removal policy that includes broad community consultation, letterbox drop. Yep, so is the seconder happy with that
Yeah, man, yeah.
change at the front?
Okay, just sort of be consultation and letterbox drop. That will precede any major tree pruning, cutting off. Yeah, no, yeah. Perfect.
So is the seconder happy with that?
Yep.
Okay, I'll speak to it. This is a very upsetting situation. It was even more upsetting when obviously the director tried to intervene, but communication problem happened, and even after that, trees were cut down worse. So I do think a letterbox drop, it was actually in one of our smaller towns, could easily be dropped in, people could be made aware. This won't stop things happen fairly quickly. It can happen pretty quickly, but the main thing, if it's an urgent need, but it's about communicating. And some of the thoughts that were thought about weren't actually didn't actually happen on the ground. So I think this would go some way to say, how do we fix it happening in the future? Luckily, one tree was surviving, so I think there's opportunities to learn from this, and I think this is a proactive, positive step to get something happening, because over time in previous councils, way back in the past, we've had some accidental things happened, and the more we communicate, the less hopefully it happens. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
I just wonder, Mayor, point 3, it's not the decision of the resident, because there's multiple residents, it's the
Suggestion.
The
the
affected.
opinions or the views of the residents come back to council with final costings.
Right.
You might have mixed views coming from the people that you saw.
Yeah. Second, happy with that?
Yeah,
Does anyone else wish to
Can I
speak?
just make a suggestion that it should be the affected residents, or, because you really
Yes.
just want to get those that are around that have got strong. I'm not sure how widely you were intending to go out for the broad community
I
consultation.
think it
Just the
depends on
street.
the area and the tree, the significance of the tree.
Yeah.
Um,
There's family that are around that area that are connected to the.
But if I read this, I'm reading that everybody in that Injune Township will get a letterbox drop, not about this tree
No,
now.
the last part
but,
is,
but
yeah,
in,
yeah. That's
because
it.
how do you know that they might not have moved or is that?
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
But the opinions are just the affected residents.
Because they might have shifted a different part of town.
That's what I'm
but,
saying, yeah.
You know, in fact, one person was living in Roma, but they grew up there, so. Council Broker.
I think this is a good one, because not only this incident in June, we had one in Roma 2 years ago, was the tree was over pruned. It's happened in Mitchell years. I've had, my mother whinges about it constantly, that uneducated people are pruning trees and not, cutting them back too far or getting rid of significant trees. But like, say the bottle tree of knowledge in Mitchell, for argument's sake, that's the centre of town, so everyone's got an interest or invested interest, and that's been replaced a couple of times. So I think it is good, and I think it is good that we go out to the community, but definitely err on the side of caution when we start to prune trees and without consultation, I think.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
Can I just ask if you apply this to the larger towns, you're not going to do broad community consultation on the removal of, we've got an example in off the main street at the moment with the bottle tree. The businesses that are around that have been consulted, but there wouldn't be a letterbox drop to the entire community about that removal of that bottle tree.
Yeah, and that's your issue in whatever you define.
So broad procedure, that community consultation, and that will allow the director,
Discretion.
which has happened here in Roma, keep it to the people that are
But
directly.
also, putting it on our Facebook and say, we're gonna trim the trees on Bowen Street or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's what the broad was about, but the letterbox drop could be more targeted, because it's about the area,
Well, what if you do that broad community consultation and targeted letterbox drop?
Yeah, I'm
But
happy
really,
with that.
all that should come back in the policy when we develop the
Yeah,
policy.
yeah, that's right.
Like, we're not doing that today.
But I am giving you a bit of a heads up, council, is that you will be considering tree removal in the CBD prior to a policy being developed, and I think it's good comment, because it's about what's the intent of council, because you do have a couple of things you go, okay, these are decisions you'll have to make pretty quickly based on the health of the trees, and some of them are significant, so.
Yeah, so targeted is good, because you can do it to the area, and that's what was suggested in Injune, was you could have just
Yeah.
gone and done the street and
street
said, we're looking at doing this. But if you don't have the broader consultation, people don't know about it, and said, I used to love driving down that street and seeing the trees, and now they're gone. Like, it's that sort of stuff.
Or my grandfather planted that tree and no one else knows the significance.
Yeah.
I think that councils are now
that's
having
good. Yep.
targeted letterbox.
Yep.
Is the seconder happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Then we'll, Councillor Ladbroke?
No, I was voting.
Pushing.
Okay. We'll go, all those that's in favour, 8-0. 8.2, council standing orders, proposed amendment. I'd like to move that council amend its standing orders to add section 17.4 to record a short summary of the open debate as part of its minutes in relation to decisions that have a split vote. 2, note that sections 28.3 and 28.4 within the standing orders in relation to COVID expired on June 30, 2021. 3, update changes in place on council's websites accordingly. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I've got a question.
Councillor Ladbrook, please go ahead. Councillor O'Neill.
Just through the chair, in developing this, and I assume that the CEO has assisted in the drafting of this,
Yeah, I do ask for advice, yeah.
has the legal advice that was provided to council when this was in place and then was subsequently removed, has that been considered?
Yes, it has. What you're doing here is putting some narrative into the minutes. You're not changing the minutes, you're just putting a little bit more qualification. Because you've had a practice of doing that for a period of time, you can do that again. I guess my recommendation would be, in considering that advice and where you're at, is that be careful about the length of that narrative in relation to anything that's added into the minutes, because clearly you want to be able to record those as you're making decisions, and council be aware of what's in the minutes when you're going to endorse them. So.
Councillor
and
Taylor.
I think the intention is
Well,
that
no,
short rather than long.
Yeah, I want to move a procedural motion that this lays on the table to have that legal advice circulated
Yep.
to all councillors, because the only two councillors other than myself that will remember this is the mayor and the deputy mayor. I can't find that legal advice, but it does exist, and that was the reason why we removed the practice, because of that advice.
Essentially, I'm happy for you to do that. You know, if that's what you wish to do.
Councillor Taylor, do you have any questions about this? Anyone that needs to bring?
But are you
Well,
moving a
I am moving the
procedural?
procedural motion, but there may be other
Well, this
questions
is what
that.
I'm asking
yeah.
for.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to, I don't understand what you're trying to do. I just need to know how that would
Okay,
work.
but you don't have any other questions? No one has any other questions than that? Yeah. Okay, so Councillor O'Neill's moved a procedural motion to lay it on the table till later in the meeting, or when we find the legal advice. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, but it shouldn't, I say later in the meeting, because the CEO's just said that she's
Yeah.
used that legal advice, so it mustn't be hard to find.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay,
And-
so
and
we'll
the
go to
premise
the
is
vote.
around-
Who's in favour of laying it on the table?
Yep.
Okay, so it's 8-0. Uh, 10.1, correspondence from Baringa Action Group. Do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move to Council 1, receive and note the correspondence from the Baringa Action Group regarding rest and toilet stops along the Mitchell St George Road. 2, advocate to the Department of Transport and Main Roads through both the Minister and District Director to investigate the progress of installation of rest and toilet stops along the Maranoa section of the Mitchell St George Road.
Councillor Evans.
I'm happy to second it, Mr Mayor, but I'm just wondering, Director might have had something to add? No?
No, not particularly.
No, I'm happy to second it.
Okay. So, Councillor McMullen seconds that. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Oh, Mr Mayor, I just think this would be fantastic if it happens. It's a long trip for various reasons, for whether you're sporting or cattle truck or whatever. There's nowhere to pull up and no amenities, family. A lot of tourists travel that road, and I know there's other sections of roads in the area that have more toilets for less kilometres. So I don't know whether they were put in the wrong spot at one time or they just forgot about it, but I think this would be great if we can get this to fruition.
Yeah, does anyone else wish to speak to this? I'll speak to it. Yeah, I think that certainly the way main roads work is planning is the first thing. So if we don't get it on the agenda, if we don't get planned that there should be toilet stops on the way, we will never get it to have fruition. And hopefully they've got a planning on it, but if they it certainly doesn't hurt from the local authority to actually advocate on the community's behalf, because it's a huge length of road with no stops, and it's actually a fairly busy highway. So, you know, that's,
Mr Mayor, is it too late to just move an amendment?
well, please go ahead.
I'd like to move that council advocate or consult with the TMR, when consulting with the TMR, advise them of a stock roots water facility, we probably don't need it this long, that's about halfway down there, that is fed by a flowing bore. So if they were to put it in that, on that reserve there somewhere, I mean, the, would save them carting water a long way.
Make it a lot
Can we
cheaper.
put,
I don't know how to word it.
I'd probably, a suggestion.
Yeah, I make
I'd
a
put it
point
on-
3.
Or
Dot-
put it on at the end where it says that council still advocate to, and then, you know, blah, 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 and then just Mitchell St George Road,
Dot one.
and inform them
Okay.
of the,
And also there's at Woodlands or Coolabah there,
I
there's
didn't
a,
want to say the name because
Oh.
we haven't consulted with the owner yet.
it's on road reserve, but
and
there's
inform them of
But it's-
there's
the
already a
stock root
rest,
facility.
sort of like a type of rest area there that,
He supplies the water. So
yeah, so it might be a benefit for both situations.
And inform them of the stock root facility,
Yeah,
and then they'll,
fed by, we'll put the
Well, you
flowing
need
bore.
watering, you need to inform them of the watering opportunity of the
stock
stock
root
root.
facility,
In the vicinity.
It's about halfway down, so it's,
And also a cleared area, like a cleared
maybe
dirt
within-
pad there, isn't there,
within-
really?
opportunities within the stock root facility.
And
instead
also,
of the-
and also the cleared dirt pad, lay down pad, I suppose.
yeah, well,
That'd,
that stock root, that'll lead them to that, anyway.
that'll lead them to water, Jeffrey,
Yeah, that's it.
whether they drink it or not.
Will they drink?
Okay, so mover's obviously happy with that,
Oh, I'm static.
I'm happy with
Or
this.
is it water?
and second is happy with that.
The water.
No, that's-
That'd be good.
Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Does the mover wish to sum up?
I know we've talked about it in the past, but I'd just like to thank the Bringer Action Group for bringing it forward and getting the process started.
Okay, then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Righto, moving on to page 46. 11.1, plant replacement policy. Got a question. So the predominant thing is the years that we would focus on and the hours if they come up first. Is that
Absolutely,
correct?
Mr Mayor, absolutely, yeah.
Righto. No, that sounds good. So this would be a vast improvement on what we've been doing, wouldn't it? Do you think?
Mr Mayor, yes, unfortunately, as you'd see in my report, we've got body trucks out there that are over 20 years old that are costing us a lot of money. We've got graders that I've got in the report with 11,000 hours that are well past their lifespan. It definitely will benefit our staff with better equipment, better technologies, but also we have to be mindful that it will require a fair injection of budgets in the future. Currently, the plant budget usually comes to council every year for about $4 million, sorry.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah, times are tough. but saying that, yeah, we usually have about a $4 million budget, and this would need over a period of time, because it will be up to the council of the day, but we probably need to inject about $20 million into our fleet, saying that.
But if we don't start somewhere and then obviously have to prioritise what we do first,
Absolutely.
then we started with the graders and
Yep.
we need to keep that going. We've got some of them on buybacks and
Yeah, we got 5 graders on order
Yeah.
currently. I think we've got 16 graders out there.
yeah.
So, and we haven't bought graders for a lot of years as well. So, we've got, as you saw by my report, we've got utilities out there that are driving around with over 300,000 kilometres on them.
Yeah.
You know, and if we put in a decent replacement policy, we can keep those utilities under warranty for the life that we've got, which will cut our ongoing costs.
I think the last time they came to the table, we backed off on them though.
January,
Like,
yeah.
I think that was, you
COVID,
know,
yeah.
But I think that
Yeah.
was more price related, but this is a bigger picture of what we want to set as our goal.
Yes.
no, but I'm just saying, the last
Yeah,
time they
yeah.
came, there was 8 and we sort of said no, we sort of.
Yep.
Yeah,
phased
I've
around.
actually got an item for the next council meeting for a number of utilities
Yeah.
as well.
Remember we had the 20-something in the yard when
I
we
just
first
gonna
started?
raise
Yeah,
that.
that's
That
right.
balked us a lot
It did
too.
balk us a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I'm happy to move that council, one, receive and adopt the draft plant replacement policy.
Won't be draft, it will be the plant, won't it?
Yeah, so is this the final one?
This is the final. Yes.
Righto. Okay, so adopt the plant replacement policy. 2, rescind all previous policies if required. 3, update council's website accordingly. We have a seconder, councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? I'll speak to it. I think this is a start. Like every budget, we also have to prioritise. We might have some gear that is very old, but what I've noticed and feedback from staff, and I think it's changing now, but it sort of didn't matter what we spent on maintenance. We had the budget for it, so it happened. But if you're thinking smart, you'd be looking at that and saying, why spend that money when you're not really going to get any more money for it in the end? It's also more downtime. When you've got a crew that hasn't, for instance, got a grader that can operate, that can affect the whole crew's performance. That could be $5,000 a day that is being wasted. These are things that obviously I'm sure the plant department will come back with the top priorities, and we start gnawing away at the problem, and we realise that it's probably a significant amount of money, but we've started in this council with the graders, and I think this is good. I think that when you've got, for instance, mowers that break down, you've got staff, the big difference in staff to be able to use pretty new gear, we get more productivity, it's nicer to use, it's nice that things actually work, more employee satisfaction. So I think we start here, we set the direction, and then over time we'll get to the end of the journey. But if you never start, if you're sort of defeatist about the size of the problem, then we never get to the end. So council actually has been spending quite a lot of money in our quarries and so forth. In the future, hopefully we don't have to do that, and we can start focusing on the rest of our plant and really make it the employer of choice council, because we've got really good gear that employees get to operate and use. Does Councillor Burkett?
Yeah, I'm fully supportive of this, Mr Mayor. I think this is a good step forward, and I think the graders was as well. I know pre-amalgamation, not the one to go in the past, but a lot of those councils did do that, turned them over under a certain amount of kilometres, and nearly didn't cost them anything for land crews and stuff like that. I know there's a plumbing truck in Mitchell that I was on council when it was brand new in 2003, and it's still sort of going. It's got efficiency of fuel from a V8 to an electric car at times. It just varies what day of the week it runs on. But I think this is a great thing to move forward. It is going to cost me, but it's a good investment, I think. So thanks, Ollie, for that. It's good.
Thank you, councillor.
Councillor Ladbrook?
Yep, I think it's a good idea because most new vehicles these days have, say, five-year warranty, so that it saves a lot of money. And if you get rid of them early, you do get good prices for them, so, and you've got no maintenance at all, really. Yep.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll sum up, just for the public listening. This is, we don't have council cars for councillors to drive. This is all about the staff. This is about being the employer of choice, more efficient. And I think the staff that I've talked to are pretty excited about getting some of those new graders, and we can stop spending money in really fixing old gear that really doesn't provide any value. Downtime, as I said, is a really crucial thing, and I don't think we should have any downtime unplanned. So this is about getting this to happen and being the employer of choice, as I've said. So I'll look forward to actually seeing that each year we, for future, whoever's here can actually take a chunk out of getting this back up to date. And as Councillor Burkett said, the smaller councils actually had much smaller budgets and they ran relatively new gear for a lot of their fleets. So this is an opportunity for us to take the bullet and in the end reduce our costs of operation. Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Thanks, Ollie.
Thank you. Thank you. Good man.
It's 54.
Morning, Michael.
Morning, Michael.
Morning.
You're on your
Morning.
own. Big boy.
11.2, extension of contract for supply and delivery of bulk liquid sodium hypochlorite for swimming pools and other facilities. Do we have a mover? Councillor
I'll
O'Neill.
move that Council 1 approve the extension of the contract for supply arrangements with Coogee QCA Proprietary Limited for the supply and delivery of bulk liquid sodium hypochlorite and for another 12 months.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Have we got those copies?
Yes.
Circulating, please? Yep. Thanks very much.
Mayor Golder, most of us haven't been introduced to the new lady.
Okay. CEO, did you want to do the introductions? We might just adjourn to read this and we'll be back in a minute. Meeting, everyone has read the bigger printout. Do we have someone to move the report?
I've got a question.
Councillor McMullen, but do we have a question, Councillor O'Neill?
What's the increase in the materials and services in the sale yards? Like the original budget was at 2.86 and now the current budget is suggesting 3.42.
That was to do with an accrual for some legal expenses for the building rectification. I think it was for $330,000.
That's more than 300 and
From the original budget to the current budget?
the original budget, if I'm reading this right, materials and services is 2.86.
Yep.
And the current budget is 3.472. That's more than 300,000.
Yeah.
Look, just through the chair, I mean, we can certainly have to take the question on notice, but I'd say it'd be the adjustment of the tender contract that we signed during the period. I think we endorsed that in July, so we would have made a budgetary adjustment at some point, but we can certainly take that on
That was
notice.
300 something.
I mean, it's just been a significant hit to the bottom line there.
True.
For the sale yards, that it's on track to go from a $49,000 surplus to a $300,000 loss.
And in the deal, we had more the contractor doing more at the sale yards than we've done in the past. So it was an upgrade in the tender. So
But this is also off the back of proposed revenue at 4.3 or 4.4 round figures. And there's been an increase of revenue to 4.6, and yet we've still got a significant loss there at the sale yards.
Where does
No,
the
your year-to-date
sponsorship come
actuals
into
are positive 62.8, 62,000.
Sorry?
The year-to-date actuals, 62.8. So it's 62,000 in the black.
But but if you're looking at the original budget to the current budget,
Yeah,
forecast.
Yeah, but we're actually tracking ahead of that. You know, obviously for the last 6 months, the revenue figures are good.
Wouldn't
because
the
the
current
numbers were
budget
high.
be being adjusted then if we're comparing that to the original budget?
No, we'd be looking at forecasts again after Q2. I mean, because you're looking at monthly, a monthly result. Essentially, the current budget's that forecast of minus 2,999. Perhaps you can help me out there, Eric. Is the current adjusted budget, is that as at Q1 or is that?
That's Q1. Yep. So that's a Q1 forecast of a loss of 299, change from the 49. What I was reflecting there is the big adjustment there was to do, or the big change was to do with that legal fees for the rectification of the building.
Do you think the forecast budget will be much brighter than $300,000 loss?
No,
when we
I'm,
look
Well,
at the-
your
I'm
year-to-date-
suggesting at the end of the year there'll be an accrual put through for about $330,000 to do with the legal fees. And what we're saying at the moment is they're expecting to make a loss because of that.
That's not what
One-off.
the figures are showing. The figures, the budget, the current budget, adjusted budget is a loss of just under 3, but your year-to-date budget is 444 in the positive, so we've actually made a $600,000 or $700,000 increase in actual revenue. I think going forward, the real issue is, given the current state of the market, you know, what does Q2 actually look like? Because we're starting to see the impact of that drop in sales. And, you know, clearly when we set the budget, and then obviously when we took on the new contract, we're expecting the market to remain largely unchanged. And as we know, it's starting to change. It hasn't really affected council at this point, but, you know, by March, that may be different. So certainly your monthly narrative is saying, look, it's on track. Certainly the general manager's monitoring that. It is on track. However, you have got a market that's cooling.
But the other months mustn't have been tracking at that same positive that you're talking about for a current forecast budget to be at a loss.
It's not actually on track at all.
30th
Year-to-date
of September, it's,
is
you know,
now
it's as at
at the end.
that particular point in
It's gonna be
time.
negative.
I know, that's
Yeah,
the
you're
point I'm
right.
making.
But you've got to look at your year-to-date. What's your actuals? You know, you've got a current
But that's
budget
only
of
to date.
minus 300. Your year-to-date budget's actually in the positive
But
significantly,
that's only to
and then
today.
your actual 62.
Year to date is to the 31st, but the
Well-
current budget is what the budget's going to end up
It's forecast.
at the forecast. And so it might be in the positive today or at the 31st of October. But what the officer's telling us part of this report is that it's actually going to be negative $299,000 because of the reasons you've said today.
At the end of the year,
That's right.
which is a one-off.
Yeah, well,
And
so
what you're
why don't
saying
we
is
just,
the accrual.
That's the accrual.
Which
It's not
won't be
it's
put
not a
until the
cash item,
end.
and then
why don't we, so,
dependent
so how about
on
we
the
get
outcome
that
of
information?
the outcome of the actions around the building, that $330,000 might actually be part of CapEx rather than OpEx.
Yeah, right, okay. As
But
part of the
we will get
remediation.
the money back, that 300 odd thousand.
No.
So it's gone?
Look, essentially, the
probably for a
accrual is a
conversation
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's only a
it's-
question, I only
Yeah,
want a
yeah,
yes or no.
yeah. And if you recall, the combination was
The
to
reason.
actually get a report back in relation to the damages, in relation to the building, as well as some legal fees attached to that. So that's at 330.
okay, so this is
Okay.
about questions and then we'll have the debate. Councillor Taylor?
The sponsorship we give the RADF and Lifelike, is that in material and services? I thought that was going to be separate.
It's going to be
Should
its own
actually
line
be
item.
in.
It's a separate line item?
It was going to be its
I
line.
know it was, I can't see it here.
Yeah, I'll just ask. Do you know
Yeah,
the
I'll
answer to
have
that?
to.
So
I'll have
if
to come
it's
back
not-
to you on that.
If it's not a separate line item here, has it been accounted for?
Yep. Okay. Sorry. Well, the question was sponsorship for
Lifeline.
So, yeah,
the Salia. Okay.
it
And
wasn't in last time either.
yeah, essentially what you
Where
see
does it
should
go?
see.
If
The sponsorship would be contained as part of materials and services, but I'd have to just
check.
come back to you with the, whether it's actually included as part of the materials and services, if there's a number in there or not.
But we do
So,
it.
I think what was asked for is, can we have a separate
Separate line
line?
item,
Yeah.
yep.
So if we can have that for the
Yep.
next monthly report.
And then the second question was, is it part of the materials and services?
this
And
one
that's
Well, it
what-
obviously has to be, because you have to account for it somewhere.
It's a foregone revenue.
Okay, is there a seconder for the monthly report? Councillor Ladbrook, does anyone wish to speak to it? Then we're gonna go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
So we're moving on to 13.1, permit to occupy lot 230 on WV 1766 and lot 1 on PER 5495.
Mr Mayor, I'll move a conflict of interest, please.
Please
Declare a
go
conflict
ahead.
of interest.
What are we doing?
Frozen.
Frozen, is it? I was wondering.
Yeah, just lost you on the iPad too.
I'll
Peter?
adjourn for a minute, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, okay, we'll need to adjourn to get some...
Nikita, do you need some support?
Righto, we'll keep going with the meeting. Councillor McMullen had a conflict he wanted to declare.
Item 13.1, permit occupy, lot 230 on WV 1766 and lot 1 on PER 5495. Declaring council as myself, party of interest myself and my partner Jean. Both my partner Jean and myself have an application for a permit to occupy a section of land adjacent to our block in Hodgson. Declarable conflict of interest, and I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, Councillor McMullen has left the room. So do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that Council 1 advise applicant and the Department of Resources that Council has no objection to the transfer of the permit to occupy in respect of lot 230 on WV 1766 and lot 1 on PER 5495 to Sean Proud. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to sign documentation related to this decision.
Okay, Councillor Taylor seconds that, I'd imagine.
Yep.
Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. 7-0.
Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senna.
Is there another one of these, or it's only one?
Later on.
Later on.
Yes. We could have actually got it back. couldn't we?
Be good
Grabbing
Do we want to do that?
Yeah,
if, be
Procedurally?
good if we could
No,
get them
George's
together.
gone.
Yeah, let me just, let me just, sometimes it's just timing of when the reports are
Yeah,
written.
right.
He gets a bit waylaid when he goes to
You know, he's here.
Oh, no, you go.
No problem. We'll keep going.
The next one you're talking about is enclosed.
Yes, enclosed, yeah. So, so page
Okay, so
105.
we'll keep going.
105? Oh, maybe it's not.
Well, did someone
Are we on
want to
now,
ring?
Dee?
No,
We are on 95.
Councillor Ladbrook's just tried to get him.
Yeah,
Not there.
but did you try and ring him?
Yeah, and Tanya was walking further and I was going to try and get him. No, you're right, you're right. I'll just-
Page 95.
On the latrine. Yes,
Daniel, it says that on there.
Councillor
It
Jones.
doesn't say, it doesn't say it on ours.
Doesn't it? Oh.
Nikita, it says the author's councillor Daniel Proud. But if you want to swap out,
Oh, I know.
yeah, don't think I could manage the airport, so.
Page 95.
Okay, 13.2, request for information on impacts of wind farms in airspace and airports. I'd like to move that council develop a case for protection of flight paths and to ensure maximum buffers for Roma Airport. 2, make presentation to CASA and state government planning on why they need to consider the importance of these buffers and protections for the Roma Airport as a state and nationally significant airport as part of state planning decisions.
Mr Mayor, you might have to say that again. Thank you. I got it.
Okay, we'll just adjourn while we get that down. Councillor McMullen,
I have a question.
please go ahead.
Through you, Chair. Major Daniel, what does it mean? Like, from when I read this report, if something was to go up that was going to impact a flight, so they have to notify council anyway. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct. A permanent fixture like a wind farm, we provide the recommendations or we provide our opinion, but at the end of the day, the decision would go to CASA and to Air Services Australia to make a decision whether there was an effect on air safety or not.
Is that only? Is that every wind farm or only ones in the path? Like, how does that get determined?
I believe as part of the state, when they make their submission to the state, any airport within 30 nautical miles needs to be considered.
Righto. And is there already buffers?
There is within the immediate vicinity of the aerodrome, so that's the obstacle limitations surface. And then essentially further out, they only take into consideration the effect on instrument approaches. And they can be changed, but there needs to be a business case put forward, safety case put forward. So that the buffers can be changed, but they need to have a really good reason why, and they need to do an assessment to basically say, as I've got in the report, to say that it won't dramatically affect safety of aircraft or people on the ground.
Councillor Burkett.
Would this also impact on the regional airports?
Well, we haven't. We could add that and put that in there. This airport is, this airport is a very highly rated airport as far as it's a fairly highly rated scale of regional airport, and I believe that in the future Defence would maybe possibly use this airport for different things. Not now, but 20 or 30 years. We really got to get this right for the region. So I've just added, is the seconder happy? I've just added CASA in there as well as, Air Services Australia as well, as it was said. I'll talk to the motion. This is about getting on the front foot. We realise we don't make the final decision, but we know that the state is looking at what they're doing with some of the decisions about wind farms and so forth. But this is really about protecting a nationally significant asset, which is a highly quite large regional airport, and it's about getting the most for this for the long term. This airport will be part of economic growth in the long term. As things change around the world, the need for different opportunities might pop up. So we need to get on the front foot. We realise it was a great report from the manager, thank you. And this is about getting proactive, and we go to Canberra, we make representations. This is about saying, and also to the state, this is important. Please consider this so we get ahead of the problem rather than being behind the problem. So that's what all this is about. Councillor Taylor,
I had a question if I
please
could,
go
Mr.
ahead.
Daniel. The wind farms themselves, do they actually have to apply to state government before they go up anyway, wherever they go? Like wherever they go?
Yes, I believe under the state planning policy, that's the case.
So we would have no say no matter what anyway.
That's how I see it too.
So
The airport,
Have any say.
So airports, like our airport, for example, if they decide they wanted to go, and I know they'll be in a safe, like they won't go 30 nautical miles or whatever you said, but apart from that, they would stay a safe way from Injune or Surat or wherever that is. So technically, we would have no say if they decided to go 31 kilometres or nautical miles outside Roma. We would have technically no say.
I would need to confirm that, but I don't, from an aviation perspective, I don't believe so. But I can double check that.
So if a landholder decided he was going to put 10 out wherever they decide, and state government said, yep, sure, go ahead, there's, you know, whatever you can get for that, that's fine. We would actually have no say. It would never come to council at all.
No, through the chair, you're not going to be making an approval, yay or nay, but I wouldn't undermine the power of input, is that we would still provide technical input into any impact review by the state, and so that's where we need to be on the front foot and be clear about that, taking those opportunities. But you are right in the fact that probably, especially around wind farms, there's a lack of regulation, and that's certainly in debate at the moment. That's different to solar, and that's different to other energy sources.
Through the chair too, just from a aviation safety perspective, even CASA Air Services and the Department of Infrastructure are developing more stringent procedures on wind farm development because it is such a new technology. So I think even they're not 100% sure what their plan will be going forward. So I think engagement is important with the regulators as well.
Oh yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I hope they do, but they don't necessarily have to.
No, they don't have
At
to
this
take that
stage.
advice. No.
Yeah,
No, I don't believe so.
yeah.
Is what we want.
Councillor O'Neill.
Have you spoken? Are we in debate?
Yeah, we're in the debate.
I'm going to speak for it. It just too needs to be make representation, not presentation.
Right.
Yep.
I'm going to support this. To Councillor Taylor's point, I mean, the decision rests with another government organisation, but I think given the increase in activity around here in respect to wind farms, the advocacy piece that we can provide to make sure that we are future-proofing the Roma airport so it isn't impacted by developments, I think is actually a good thing. Whether that government agency listens or not, that's their prerogative, but ours should be to at least raise it as a point of concern that we're not stifling any development. Landowners have the right to do whatever they want. We understand it's not as regulated or any regulation compared to what we're used to in terms of the oil and gas sector. But this is a major asset for us as a port in and out of our community, and I'm happy to support that we make those representations to the relevant agencies to put our case.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll sum up. Yeah, this is about getting on the front foot. As we know, and I don't know whether it's closed, but the state has asked for feedback about their decision-making planning on approving renewable energy projects. So I think that this could be part of it, even if it has closed. I think they're still considering it. So this would be part of it. This is getting on the front foot, really just respectfully representing the views and what we need. Can even influence, obviously governments want better policy, and to get better policy they get more information from local governments and that helps with their policies. So I think this is a very, very important motion to support as far as the future of the Maranoa. On that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Page 105.
Thank you. 13.3, Surat Capital Works Program, Water, Sewerage and Gas. Councillor Hancock,
I'm happy to move it, but I've just got a couple of questions.
please go ahead.
Through you, Chair. Hi, Director Matt, how are you?
Morning.
Just with resolution, It says transfer the funds from the Surat Sewage Safety Project, yep, 100,000, to Kudu Water Main Upgrade. And I'm just doing the calculations here. We have a price on the Surat bore tank and the bathymetric test. So I'm assuming that the extra $25,000 is to go to the Kudu Water Main Upgrade project. Is that correct? Just that there's no price against the... And so is that how much you need to be able to finish the Kudu Water Main Upgrade project?
So there's an extra, thanks to Councillor Hancock, through the chair, there's an extra $100,000 going to the Cordelia Street water main upgrade. There's $50,000 going to the Surat Bore Tank project, which hasn't been a project as yet. We've been carrying that on the OPEX, and there's $25,000 for the bathymetric.
Oh, so, sorry, so that's not clear in here. We might need to just tidy this up.
Yep.
Because I was thinking that the 100,000 is where you're getting the other money, but where are you getting the money for the 50,000 for the Surat Bore Tank?
So the secondary project that we had, the sewage safety project was $175,000 in our capital works program, and that's where the money's coming from to fund those
I couldn't see
the additional. And
That's
So-
number 2, defer.
Yeah. And so we're saying that out of that 175,000, we're going to give 100 to the Kuduya one, 50 for the bore. And now, just with the bathymetric test special project, 25,000. But last meeting we approved 10,000.
That's correct. Look, we've gone and got additional quotations on that, and we'd like to actually take it a bit further than, So we wanted to carry it as an OPEX originally, and we thought we could, but the bathymetric test is actually going to cost us a lot more than what we thought. So we thought this is consolidating these CapEx projects. We'll make it a special project and bring it out on its own. We're really carrying a bathymetric test at 25,000 on the OPEX. Probably we shouldn't really be doing that. So that's why I brought it through to the CapEx program.
And I don't have a problem with it all. I just then will ask Madam CEO. I'm just concerned that, just to tidy up, I'm just concerned that last council meeting we approved $10,000. I don't have a problem because you've got the money within a budget. We're just moving money about. But if we approve it for $25,000, is that in direct competition to the one we've already done? I'm just wondering how we tidy that up.
Just, through the chair, probably just include the word increase the Surat Weir bathymetric test special project, and it could be to a total of 25,000.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that you're clear exactly
Yep.
how much you're spending on that.
Yeah, that'll be fine if we just put
Yes.
and increase the Surat Weir bathymetric test special project.
And through the chair, we're just getting some questions from the contractors of how far up the actual weir we go, whether it's 1K, 2K, depending on the level at the moment, they can go as far as they like. So we in consultation with the water sewage gas manager, we'll take it as far as we can in terms of understanding the capacity.
Thank you.
So, the manager of water, sewage and gas, do you have a view on how far we should do it?
Would through the chair, I'd like to go as far as we can, because in the next 5 years we should be doing the same test. We'll see what the silt rate build up is,
Right.
and that's something that should be an ongoing project over
Your benchmark. where you're at.
over 5 years. We see what the weir's doing, because they will silt up.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it definitely has, yeah, that's right.
And how far do you think we should go?
Well, the consultants would probably be the best ones to suggest that, because
Righto.
it'll go to what would be the original weir was shaped. They would have did designs and calculations way back when the weir was first built, and they should be compared to that, and that will give us a benchmark, and we can see what's building up over the years.
Righto. Councillor O'Neill?
Can I just, given the questions that Councillor Hancock just asked, I'm slightly confused now. Is there a total of $175,000 that is going to be removed from the Surat Sewerage Safety Project into those other three things?
Correct,
So the
correct,
test,
Councillor O'Neill.
the bathymetric test is now not 10,000, it's 35,000, and we need to increase it
I think the CEO mentioned it's up to 25,000.
up to 25.
Yeah.
So I just wondered, to make that clear, should it be the resolution read, the council, one, transfer $100,000 from the Surat Safety Project to Cordelia Water Main. Two, transfer 50,000 from the Surat Sewerage Safety Project to the tank project, and then that way it's just very clear where the money's coming from and then where it's going to. Does that make sense?
So I'm happy
It
to
doesn't
move.
say that.
It does. Transfer funds and threat.
It doesn't say how much funds is coming out of this project.
175.
175.
Yeah, I'll fix it if I move it.
Because, Mr Mayor, can I just, the director just said the original money's not being used now, it's all coming out of CapEx instead of OpEx, is that correct?
No.
Did I hear that right?
Yeah, through the chair, the 10,000, but you're clearly just moving one allocated capital project to
Yeah.
those two. Yeah,
To
but
CapEx,
yes,
I
there
think.
should be an adjustment on the 10,000
Yeah.
in the budget if we haven't had to do that, but we'll have a look at that resolution, see if it's an issue, but it shouldn't be.
To the mover, the only thing I was thinking about.
I actually haven't moved anything yet, Mr Mayor. I'm trying to.
All right, but I thought you said you wanted to, but I was just wondering whether you'd consider actually putting that 175 into point 2 where it's defer, just so we know the amount of money there, because it's just a bit more clarity for it, but it's up to you what you move.
So it's all a bit
Through the
confusing
chair,
now.
is the question you're asking there, just to be clear, is that the original project that you've taken the 175
Correct.
grand for, is that a project that you still want to do, and therefore, if that resolution was improved to include defer the $175,000 project to 24-25 budget or
Correct.
something like
See,
that?
we'd like to,
Point 2
we'd like
just
to,
hasn't got the amount in there.
definitely like to deliver that in 24-25.
Yep, so
budget.
it's still an important project, just the
Yes.
timing.
So councillor Hancock, what would you
That
like
makes
to move?
Okay. Well, since Nikita's doing all this great work up here, I'm just going to run with this. I'll change what I was going to do. Okay. So I'm going to move that council. We don't need to worry about consider because we're considering it. That council, one, transfers $100,000 ex-GST from Strat Sewerage Safety Project, WO 24470 to Cordelia Water Main Upgrade Project, WO 24481. Two, transfer $50,000 ex-GST from the Strat Sewerage Safety Project, WO 24470, to the Surat Bore Tank Project. Three, transfer. No, we want to.
Transfer up to 25,000.
25,000.
We want to that council increase the Surat Weir bathymetric test special project up to a total of 25,000. GST.
And what might be useful there is ex-GST from work order 24470.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, simply because.
Increase that up to that and transfer funds from the Surat Sewerage Safety Project. Work order 24470. And transfer these funds, please, Nikita, when you go back, and transfer these funds from, in front of funds, please. Transfer these funds, yep. Project. Yep, and happy for you then to copy and paste if you want from under 4 where it says note, it says note new work orders to be generated, and just copy and paste 2 and 3. No, sorry.
That'll be number
It'll be
4.
after 3, Nikita. Yeah, or number 4. Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah.
Through the chair, probably just looking at point 5 there, is you don't need to authorise me to transfer something if you've already approved the transfer
That
of it.
note,
But do I need to sign any documentation? Just
that note,
So I think it's just an internal
work
transfer of-
orders to be generated.
between GLs, CapEx.
That's meant to be, yeah, that's operation. Oh, well, we normally do, that's actually meant to be up in number 2, you're right, because it's about the bore project. Do you need a new one for the WEA as well, Director Matt?
We'll short answer, yes. We'll need a new work order for the.
So put that in there. While Nikita's typing that, just a quick question. I mean, I'm happy to put in number 4, I'm happy to put in brackets what the Surat Sewage Safety Project amount was for the 175. My only thing is by the time we get there, it could go up, it could change. So that's why I'm probably not going to put it in number 4 and just leave it because we've captured it now.
Through the chair, we did mention that in our risks that we'll have to reevaluate that project.
The whole project. Right, I'm happy to read all that out, Mr. Mayor.
You probably don't need 5 from what the CEO was saying.
Oh,
The
yeah.
I think it's
decision above is
Yep.
directing that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, leave
Yeah,
4,
but
please.
Nothing needs to be signed unless you want to execute any documents in relation to, and that's the only thing I'm saying to officers, if there's any documentation that needs to be executed, we can do it with, you most likely can do it within your delegations anyway. It's only a small amount of money.
I'm happy to move that. Council, 1, transfer $100,000 ex-GST from the Strat Sewage Safety Project, WO 24470, to Katuya Water Main Upgrade Project, WO 24481. 2, transfer $50,000 ex-GST from the Strat Sewage Safety Project, WO 24470, to the Strat Bore Tank Project. Note new work orders to be generated for Bore Project. 3, increase the Strat Weir bathymetric test special project up to a total of $25,000 excluding GST, and transfer these funds from the Strat Sewage Safety Project, WO 24470. Note new work orders to be generated for the Strat Weir bathymetric test special project. And 4, defer Strat Sewage Safety Project for consideration in 2024 to 25 budget deliberations.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Taylor, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to say thanks to the staff for bringing this forward and seeing that there's a project there that we really need to finish off for the Cordelia Water main upgrade, and also all of these projects have probably jumped up the queue with higher priorities at the moment. Still wanting to definitely not taking away from the Strat Sewage Safety Project and the fact that that does need to be done, and that is fairly important. But yeah, just thanks for bringing it forward and realising the highest priorities at this time for council.
Okay, no one else wishes to speak. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. We'll be back in half.
Thanks very much, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're up to 14.1, NRMA Electric Vehicle Charging Station for Roma. I've got a question. Have we consulted with the staff at the library about what they think, and is it going to affect the library if we make this decision with these car parks?
Well, to your question, no, we haven't consulted with, or haven't spoken to the staff directly. The interim of this, from my point of view, I don't believe there'll be any impact, because we have very minimum amount of people using EVs at this stage. So therefore, and as we don't enforce our regulations, that I'm not envisaging that in the first 12, even 24 months that there will be really any great impact, apart from the fact that, of course, if someone wants to charge the car, they know that's where they can go. So that's my honest opinion of what's going to happen. But it provides us with the opportunity, of course, from people who are coming from Toowoomba or Brisbane, that we need to be able to give them opportunities to actually drive up here as well.
Councillor Mark.
Mr. Mayor, I asked will this, I was probably in here, will this eh?
No.
No, that's what I thought,
no,
free.
no.
So we probably will get an influx of Roma people there. There is a few in town. If they're doing it at home, they're probably, but it is what it is.
That's not to say down the line they won't start charging. I'm pretty certain, like everything, that it's always there's always this get people on, because the issue that, and we're seeing a lot more of this being rolled out right around Australia. That if we're going to encourage the uptake of EV, we've got to encourage then having the installations in the various facilities.
Can I just query that?
Yes.
Because NRMA will meter consumption.
Sorry?
Their own separate retail, so is that for them to use our power, not for the actual consumer?
That's for them to be charged, so we don't have any. There's no impact to us whatsoever in installation, maintenance, or ongoing servicing and costs.
They're paying the power.
They're paying all the bills. That's not to say that down the line that as the uptake comes on board and a lot more, that they won't start to introduce, as will all of these EV places.
Did they give you a time frame for that free?
Don't worry about me, I'm fine.
Sorry.
I was for everybody,
Taylor was
that's okay.
first.
Oh, well, it happens all
And
the
then
time,
who
doesn't
was-
it, really?
It does happen all
Doesn't
the
matter,
time.
but Councillor Taylor was first.
Yeah.
And then Councillor O'Neill and then
Here,
Hancock.
Cameron, quite often.
I just wonder why we're not putting them in front of Mosaic, the Masonic Lodge or somewhere like that. Why does it have to be in a car park? Why can't it be out on the street? That's my first question. And then my other one is, why just $1 a year? Like, this is a commercial business, isn't it? Why do we only charge them $1 a year?
It's an arbitrary amount that's been utilised around us. When I did the same when I was up in Armidale, we NRMA put in. It's just a way of showcasing that there's no favouritism being. So we're actually charging them a dollar figure, right? And it's because it's a service we're providing for the community. It's not a money making venture from council's point of view. It's seen as putting in an asset. I mean, that's up to council to determine. But could I say, to your question, could I say that, my understanding of this, that this is a facility that we can provide services to customers to encourage them to come and visit us. If we want to charge NRMA for the use of our car parks at a commercial rate, we run the risk then of not having the EV charge stations here.
It's like a service station, isn't it?
Sorry, councillor?
It's like a service station, basically. It's fuel.
Yes, but that is up to councillors to determine. I mean, this is, from my point of view, the recommendation I'm putting forward that this is a facility where we're actually providing a service to encourage people to come and visit our area, and I'll leave it at that.
Councillor O'Neill.
There's part of Councillor Taylor's question which I was going to ask, but that it might have got lost then in answering the second part. But why can't we put it on the street?
Thank you. No, I was going to. There's a safety issue in relation to people, because when it's one thing to park your car, but then people tend to, how they, when you, I don't know, it's the same as when you've got, when you're around a service station, when you're filling your car, people tend to walk around. So there is the safety issue today. Because I did ask the question, that was their recommendation. It's basically to do with safety. Car parking there, people wandering around, and they could cause an accident.
You're probably off a 50k zone too.
You've also got
I've
subground.
actually seen them on the street in the city, like you've got a shopping centre or whatever you've got there, or a cafe, and they've just got these little cars just parked right there, like just right there. No, just on the street.
I've seen it too.
Yeah.
Councillor O'Neill.
Yeah,
You
so-
finished?
No, in part. That's NRMA's advice, but have we explicitly asked them in their network anywhere across Australia, do they have these charging stations on urban streets?
No, I have not asked that particular question.
I think we need to do that.
But through the chair, there'd be a very simple solution. Is this is charging infrastructure. It does have a degree of subground power, etc., that needs to be put in place. And I know in my in working in previous councils where NRMA did install this infrastructure, it was on council land because they could get access and provide that infrastructure. In relation to that, in the cities, it may be a simpler process of accessing that subground infrastructure, but you're essentially putting a piece of equipment that might be less than $5,000, but the subground infrastructure would be more, onto a plot of land that's done quite easily, and and council still retains control over the land. The agreement between the corporate NRMA and council is sitting there. It doesn't interface with anything else.
Correct.
But why would you put essentially maybe a $20,000 piece of infrastructure or on a road which might require you to actually dig up services which may cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars? And that's the simplicity. That's essentially the small stuff that NRMA did in New South Wales with each council, is they just did one per council and funded them and put them on council land for those reasons.
Yep.
Councillor Hancock.
Yeah, look, yeah, I mean, I support this. Like, we all get that, right? But I am really, so I do have a question, Mr. Mayor, but I am really very concerned about that car park because it's such limited spaces there now. And I know that, you said that people could still park there, but I wouldn't. Like, if there was a charging station there, I wouldn't park there. And it's already very hard to get parks there. So my question is there anywhere, and I understand, because this isn't the first time this has come to us, we've asked for it to go back and to have a look at the streets. Is there anywhere else in town that we could look at that might have those requirements that they needed, that you were talking about, the power requirements?
There is. I mean, outside our building here, there's the issue for NRMA are concerned about obviously they've got to get access to power at the library because there's I think it's 1,000 kVA subplant there, so the access is a lot easier. Here they'd have to dig up a lot. Council, I mean, the idea of bringing this report to council was basically to get a recommendation in principle, and then if there's an issue about the site, nominate the site, and then NRMA can work towards that end. We have identified a site here, but it does mean a lot more.
Are we talking about outside the PCYC?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. But the substation, access to the substation is a lot more complex, getting the power and digging up, etc.
And then that's there's only 2 substations in Roma.
There are other substations, but when NRMA came and had a look at Roma, they identified the library and down here. One of the other criteria they also want is that they want to make sure that when people are obviously takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. So when they're refueling or recharging, I suppose, they could go for a walk and spend money in our shops and buy a coffee. So that was the other opportunity. I mean, this is going to grow. We're going to see a lot more of these companies coming to us over time. This is just the first wave.
And that's what it isn't actually. It's like we've already talked about another one and another car park. So, but that's what concerns me the most is that we're making this decision now on a potential limited use, but it could actually become a much more heavily used thing, and then we've got it on the.
That's not really a question. So we need to stick to questions.
So my question was, it is a question.
What's the question?
And the answer to what the officer's saying is, I understood that, but the question is there any other car parks that can we do it in? Because that car park is heavily used.
Yeah, but then you said I'm concerned about
that car park being heavily used. That's right. That's why I'm asking the question.
But the question is, and I think you've answered that there's 2 options. So, Councillor O'Neill, have you got something overlying? Otherwise, we're going to Councillor McMullen.
I'm going to move something.
No, well, Council.
All I was going to say, I mean, it's probably been answered anyway. That particular place was very close to a substation. I think we discussed it once before about out here, or even in our car park at the back of the toilets and that. It was the infrastructure. The cops were putting the infrastructure in there.
Was they weren't going there?
No.
Councillor, we're doing questions. Councillor Burkett.
So, Manager Greg, the idea is it's a bit like the term that always gets thrown out here, tourism. Get to Rome, they can shuffle out. So if they're heading out west, they can, it's to encourage those guys in the electric cars, God forbid them, that they're down there and they think, oh, I might go on a holiday, so they can come here, and this is like it might get to Roma. This is like, is that being targeted as has to be charged? Like they'll only get to here and then they can go to Longridge or whatever.
There are others.
On the way.
They have identified a whole network. I mean, they've got funding. They've got federal funding from the federal government to expand the highways and byways so people can get around. My issue is that what we've got to be mindful of going forward. Our uptake here, personally, I don't believe will be huge in the short term until they sort out charging of utes and things like that that can tow a trailer a significant distance. But the issue for me I see is going forward is that the uptake will be in Toowoomba and Brisbane. Those people who do then decide where they want to travel will say, okay, I can go 400 kilometres.
Yeah.
Roma's not got one. I'm going to go left of this way and right of that way,
Exactly.
and we miss out in the short term.
The other thing too, you're really not losing any car parks, whether you have them on the street, the 3 you take up on the street, over 3 up in there.
Is that a question,
No,
Councillor
well,
Burkett?
so is there a safety aspect also for having it inside as opposed on the street? To me, that would play on my mind. Did they say that? Like being on a road that's 50 kilometres an hour as opposed to a car park where it's 10 kilometres an hour?
They haven't specifically said that. I've just made an assumption that it is more about a safety issue, because people backing in and various other. I mean, I've seen what I've seen here. I've actually seen people parking the wrong way, so it's always an issue. And by and large, when you're driving around, I've noticed a lot of them coming in wherever I've been in northeast and other parts of the world. The charging stations are basically in infrastructure like service stations, McDonald's, council visitor information. I did suggest the information centre, but the issue there, of course, it's too far. If they park there, then it's too far for them to wander around the streets. Because ideally, we also want to hold them here for a moment or two so they can hopefully spend a bit of money with us.
Yep, totally agree.
Good man. Councillor O'Neill,
I'm happy to move something.
please go ahead.
I'll move that council defer a decision on this matter until its December ordinary meeting to allow it to come via a councillor briefing for further investigation as to the most appropriate location for this facility to be located within the Roma CBD.
Can I just ask a question to remove?
Please go ahead.
If NRMA's already been there and done the location, who do you want that information from? Us brainstorming?
They've done their homework.
Mm-hmm. But
So do we need
if
more homework?
we find a spot, we've got to go back to them, and then they'll say, no, we've already investigated. Is that? I'm just trying to get you.
Well, do you want to answer that, Councillor O'Neill?
That's exactly right. I could answer that in speaking to it.
Yeah, well, the other question I have, are you willing to put in that motion that we get the feedback of the impacts on the library staff of the actual, putting it down there, so we get that feedback as well as where else we can put it?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I didn't want to be as specific. To me,
Well, I think we need to hear from them.
Well, not just them.
The
That's why I didn't want to be
users as well.
specific.
Well,
We've got
they
a
will
couple of
tell us what
library-
the users
Well, I
want.
think we need to go directly to the users because I've been down in that area and there's not a spare car park on particular days during the week. So, but yes, if I'm happy to include that consultation occur with the staff and users of the Roma Library.
But that's
If
my
we put
concern.
it in the CBD.
If you move it out to the street, either way you're going, you're taking 3 car parks from
No,
that
but the
area.
other thing is it might be harder over here, but we've got maybe more space over here. So it might be harder, because we've got to think also that service stations might have charging, to Councillor
Yeah.
Taylor's point, in the
I
future.
don't think they'll do it in a service station though, because they might blow up.
Dangerous.
No, look, there is a trend to the significant investment to put them into what we'd say
Seconder for that motion.
Yeah, we'll just
infrastructure
let
that
the
makes
CEO
sense.
speak.
And
Questions or
service stations
discussion?
of the future indeed will accommodate that, and they certainly are in other areas. I think it is a case of just trying to foreshadow that and come up with something that makes sense.
Okay, we've
just
got a
one-
mover. Do you want to second that, Councillor Hancock?
I'm happy to second it, but I'm just wondering, Councillor O'Neill, if another outcome that we could have is, I actually think because we've had 2 come already, whether we could include, I think we need to come up with a plan, not just necessarily about this one, about what future assets we have and infrastructure that we have, that when it comes again, we've got some sort of a plan, so we're not just doing this willy-nilly. So I would like to see that not only this, that we come up with a plan, so.
To consider a plan for
Suitable sites.
future approaches
Yep.
of
Charging stations.
charging stations within well, it's probably within the region.
Yes, yes.
So we've gone from just endorsing one thing to considering a plan. Do you need to put some money or budget towards it?
No. In the briefing, just in the briefing, we would like to have a briefing on not only this decision, but also to come up with some sort of a plan.
The council too, as part of the briefing, workshop a plan for future approaches of charging stations within our region.
Can I just ask another question of the manager?
Please go
while we're
ahead.
here? Greg, when you said like NRMA and the costing, like and do we actually provide the electricity? What did you say about that exactly?
All we provide is the car parking space.
Is it just the site?
Is the site,
And they
the
do
location,
this.
and then they put in all the asset, all the connections, all the approvals, all that's taken care of by them. All we're doing is providing them with 2 or 3 car parking bays at a set location.
And so when someone comes to plug in, do they just swipe a card?
I'm not 100%, but I'm not 100% because it's free. And the issue here, the other one to remember is that the car parking charges that are going in are universal charges, where Tesla ones that are put in are for Tesla motor cars only. So you just plug your car in like you plug your PowerPoint in, or your cable, and away, and you just charge up. And I don't know, there's a light. I don't have an electric car, but I'm not sure.
So that, but they have to pay for it.
Yeah, there'd be one. Yeah.
Like use a credit card or something.
No, at this point in time, no.
At this, no, it's free. What
Free to the person.
What they're trying to do is, from my understanding, what they're trying to do is get a network developed, get us all on board, and then over time start to have user pay. And I imagine if you're an NRMA member or an auto association member, you'll get a discount because you just swipe your card and away you go. Yeah.
Councillor Guthrie?
Mr Mayor, I'm just trying to get my head around this because when I look at all of this, what this particular item today is seeking to receive and review the attached letter of intent. When you read the letter of intent, it says, while you consider the site map and the draft to license agreement, we kindly ask you, it goes on, by signing the page, you are merely agreeing to consider the substance of the letter and making an obligation-free commitment to contribute to the NRMA's mission if you choose so. Signing this page does not create or hold any obligation on you to the NRMA. This is just a letter of intent.
Correct.
This is not we are going ahead to do this.
That's yeah.
I'm just clarifying this. This is a question. Is that exactly right?
That's-
This is not giving money, saying we're going with it. This is just the signing of the letter of intent to say we're having conversation and you are not tied to anything. Is that what it reads?
Point 2.2 of the resolution is a lot stronger than has just been articulated by Councillor Guthrie.
Okay, so please go ahead.
Sorry,
Manager.
that is the intention today. It is available to councillors to firm up so that if you want to have a briefing session or nominate different locations, because this does talk about the library specifically, so that could be knocked out, and so you still have the ability to keep working with NRMA, but we just resolve the location amicably down the line.
Mr.
I'm happy to speak to the resolution.
Yeah, well, I have one question. Would you mind putting in the resolution that we actually investigate the other side while we're getting the briefing and doing that?
So that's exactly why I've put most appropriate location within the Roma CBD.
So the staff could go and be investigating the other one that they looked at.
And not just staff.
No.
We need to come, and so it's us also going and having a look at some sites to understand what is the best. But I'm happy to talk to the motion if I can.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I've moved this in the frame that it is because I'm not against us investing in this infrastructure or supporting others to come into our region with this infrastructure. Because if we don't, others will. And we will lose a market share, particularly in the tourism market, from the people that reside in the southeast corner that are being driven more quickly towards this type of technology in relation to cars. I know that our region will probably be a bit slower. The O'Neills will probably be very slow to get to this point, but that shouldn't hold our region back from playing as part of the network. My concern here and why I've moved to defer the decision, so the resolution still stands, it would come back in a fortnight via a briefing and us to workshop it, is to allow us to understand the impact of removing car parks from the library car park. If that is the ideal location, if we agree to that today, yes, in the short term, there may still be spaces available. In the long term, there won't be. We only own a portion, we being the community, only own a portion of the car parks that make up that car park that goes from Arthur to Hawthorn. The majority of that is owned by ambulance. And so we have a lease over that, but we don't own it. So at some point, we may not have a car park there anymore, right? And that will have significant impact on what we've been providing for our community. So I just want to make sure we're getting this right. I have seen, as I mentioned before, how busy the library car park can be on different days. And I think consulting with the staff of the council that operate out of there, as well as the users, we've just agreed to multiple user agreements for the next 5 years in the back of the library precinct. We need to understand where they're parking. And so I'm just asking council to defer this for our meeting in December, to come back via a workshop so we can tease all of this out so we get it right. And I urge councillors to support the recommendation.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Mr Mayor. I've just got a concern about the timing. That's all, just December. I think at our level, we might struggle to get something in great detail back for December. Plus, I've got Greg going on leave in December. We don't have too many other people to cover, so I'm just a bit concerned with the timing, that's all.
So the only thing is, to me, Councillor O'Neill said you can still be, through the CEO, getting moving on the other side and saying sounds like it's a better option as well as the future planning. It's more difficult, but, you know, reading the room, I'm guessing that's not going to be a go down there. So if you get that and bring it back, it could be go ahead with the other side. It may not be, it's up to the council, but to me, it's more difficult for them here, but it's better for our parking situation. So, councillor.
Mr Mayor, can I suggest, and not withstanding what Councillor O'Neill said, we go back to the original resolution, drop 2.2 out and then put this on there so they can still sign the letter of intent to keep NRMA happy, and then do the rest. We're not agreeing to any site in that letter, I don't believe.
Are they in a hurry?
Well, that's what got to be. That's what.
Sorry. So all I've moved today
NRMA,
is that this whole thing that is before us today is deferred until December, so it comes back in its entirety.
Yeah, but
and we have a workshop to tease this all
We're not
out.
going to have it through in time. That's what we're being told to go back to.
Well, that's not what I just heard. I heard that there were some resourcing issues too.
It's got to be. My understanding was they want an answer.
Well, can I ask a question? Does it lock us into the library side if we sign the letter intent from your opinion of the officers?
No.
This is just a letter of intent.
If council were just to
say
go
that in
with
2.2.
Yeah,
No,
but
we're dropping that off.
if we drop 2.2 out of the recommendation, it's not locking us into any site. It's just the intent is there's a relationship between council and then the NRMA to investigate the future sites. So what we can do is, if the intent is signed off, we can then go away with the direction of council today and work that up further, and obviously liaise with NRMA and others in the future. So I just saw, as part of that Councillor O'Neill, with respect to the workshop and the briefing, look, there probably is a degree of work that needs to be done to have an outline. It's not just for NRMA, it's the other providers. As you said, we've already had one provider come into town, for, I think it was for Mitchell, I think it was. We need probably...
The other car park.
Was it Surratt, was it? Yeah.
Sorry, Roma.
Roma.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So we probably do need a bit of a consistent policy in place. But if if the intent is at least approved or signed off, then we continue that discussion. It's just that we're not locking into a site.
Actually, you've got a
Councillor Taylor?
Well, actually, you've got a conflict, if I said what I was gonna say. Because we had another project that we thought it could happen there too.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think that's gonna come back in the next thing anyway, if this gets up, because they're gonna look for other
Yeah.
sites, so.
But that,
So-
if that goes up today, my understanding is it's gonna hold, it's gonna hold the
Well,
show.
it's up to the mover. Does the mover wish to change it?
So, I don't see anywhere where they're asking for a decision today. There is no time frame in any of the information I've seen. We are back here in 2 weeks, right? We can consider this whole thing again. Just fire a workshop.
Officer said it's not gonna get it in time, because my understanding.
With
I can
respect,
dial in, I'll be away, but I can dial in.
this whole thing that we're considering
no, not
today
leave, yeah.
reappears in a fortnight.
Yeah.
It's just holding it so we can do our due diligence via a workshop.
What I took from it, they need a response from the letter of intent.
No,
I might have took it the wrong
through the
way
chair,
when you-
I won't have, Greg won't be here. He's on leave.
Yeah.
I think it's important that Greg's part of that conversation workshop, and I don't have any other staff really behind the scenes to be able to take that forward for a workshop in December. So I'm just going to call it as it is. If you're happy to bring it through till January, then we've got some time.
That's what I thought.
No, I took it the wrong way.
So I'm happy to change, defer a decision on this matter until our first ordinary meeting in 2024, so that comes back via a briefing. Now that briefing, that could just be us. That could be an hour for us to go and have a look at these sites to understand it, you know? So I'm happy to change that to the first ordinary meeting in January 2024.
Can I just
Might get MMA
have a
down too.
comment?
Please, you can speak to it. Does the seconder wish to, happy with that change?
Yes.
Please speak, councillor Ladbroke.
The NRMA, you know, if they've got to spend $200,000 or $300,000 to get the power to this site, we can say, oh, that'd be a good site, but it's not suitable for them. If they're doing it for nothing, they're not going to spend $200,000 or $400,000 on getting all the gear over there, are they? Like,
We don't know.
There'll be a commercial reality, you're right.
what's that?
There'll be a commercial reality
Yes.
wouldn't do it
around
for that.
sites, absolutely.
They're
In
not
the
gonna-
long term, that's not gonna be for nothing.
EV charging.
No, I know that, but they're not going to spend all that money when they can spend probably 50 grand and get it done.
But councillor Ladbroke, it's in our council car park, and there's a transformer over there,
That's
so
quite
it's still,
That's-
it's still doable. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
it's not for that
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of money.
but you know, in the main street or whatever's
Yeah, but-
probably not a goer, is it?
But I'll speak, and one of the big things is, I think it's a shocking idea to put it down in the library. I think when we find the staff, and the staff listen to the users, and obviously you've got the user groups out the back, but I believe that the library staff can well and truly survey their library users and find out what they think, and it's a shocking idea to put it down there. Over here it's just a bit harder for NRMA, and I think behind the scenes, staff can get working on, well, that's probably a preferred site, plus the other bits of the motion that we'll go and have a look. And it shouldn't really hold anything up to just get on with it. But 5 car parks out of there, when they know the council agreed to that, I think that people want to hang you up over it. So to me, we got some capacity here, and I do think in 5 or 10 years you'll have service stations. They'll solve the in the future they'll solve the safety issues, and then we will have given $1 a year based on a situation that we're not charging, and someone else is trying to sell a different form of fuel. So we've got to balance not doing nothing, but also making sure we don't affect our local residents with parking as well. So I'll be supporting this motion. Now, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Guthrie?
I have 2 questions to ask. So if we go until January, which means it's now November, we've got effectively 2 months. Does that impact on the NRMA at all?
No.
So that they're not likely to then go, oh, well, the delays going to cause us any issues?
A great question, thank you, Councillor. They've identified Roma as a key, as part of their, because obviously they know how many miles between various towns, so they've identified Roma. They have come and had a look at a number of sites, which I gave them here, the library, the big rig. I also mentioned the new car park that we're going to be putting in. Obviously, that was a bit of a trick because we're not sure when that was going to get built, so there was a bit of hesitation there. So, so this won't impact. The NRMA are committed. They just want to start they want some certainty so they can start rolling things out and starting their paperwork and get their operation and et cetera going.
Okay, my second question is to the mover of this amendment. I'm just wondering whether you're amenable to an amendment and have at the beginning before number 1, receive and review the attached letter of intent and draft NRMA licence template for EV charging stations. So it's actually saying that it's linked to the fact there's a letter of intent from NRMA, and then what you've got there, which is then the deferring the decision.
What was that again that you wanted to put in there?
Number 1, the first point in the recommendation to include that we've actually received a letter of intent from NRMA with a licence template for EV charging stations, which is not committing us to where the location is. It's simply then as a precursor saying that this is where this is linked to and it's aligned to a letter of intent.
Yeah, I'm happy to include that it says receive and note the attached letter of intent.
Is the second happy with that?
I am.
Right, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Hancock.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that for me, what this has actually flushed out is the fact that we need a plan. The officer has said to us that there will be more, and we are going a little bit blind here. And this infrastructure will have, will affect our community, and so therefore we do need to have a plan on this. And so for me, that's a really important part of this, is to be able to take the time to develop a plan that will suit our community, not just Roma, but our other towns in our community as well, so that when this comes to us, that we're not just making spontaneous decisions based on one provider. We actually are trying to follow some sort of a plan for our region, and so that's what I'm actually really happy about with this recommendation that has come forward. I too don't think that the library is the right place for this as well, and so therefore I will look forward to be able to workshop this and to try and come up with a plan that might be able to suit everyone. I wholeheartedly support anything that'll drive tourism and keeping people spending their local money in our local towns for longer. But we just need to balance that with infrastructure for our own towns. And I'd also like to thank Director Leo for coming forward and telling us that that there's staffing situations that are affecting his team at the moment, because sitting on this side of the table, we don't know that. And so thank you very much for bringing that forward so we could consider that today as well.
Councillor Burkett.
Mr Mayor, I'm on the fence of this whole electric car thing. I think wherever we put it, we've got to make sure we've got a lot of water to put it out when it blows up. But
next to the fire station.
I think, like in Mitchell, for example, the 2 locations there, and every town's going to be different. It's not taking up car parking spaces. It's close to CBD, and it ticks all the boxes. Here, wherever we're going to go, we've got to remember, if we put it in some car park, we're taking up 5 spaces. Put it up in the street, doesn't matter, it can take 5 spaces. To me, the big rig area would be the tick might, because it's not taking any parks. It could go over near the cricket side there and that development there. The only thing is it's not close to the CBD, because anywhere else you go, the arguments are null and void, because if it goes in the library or out on the street, there's still 5 car parks taken up regardless, and so people, whether they drive there or there, they're still looking for a park. But I'm happy to have a briefing. I don't think we have to drive around town. I think we could do it on desktop. Really, we could. So, but anyway, I'm happy to support it to go to the next stage.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Taylor.
Just really quickly to Councillor O'Neill, most of that, some of that, like that library, not all of that is our car park. It is part of the ambulance as well. And just to Manager Greg, with that other one that we haven't developed yet, that is on our radar to do. We have asked for that to be a high priority, so that should be a really good option in my eyes. I don't know if it will be or not, but that hasn't, like, they haven't even been realised yet, so, you know, nobody knows that we've got it, so that also could be something. So I really think having a good look would be, you know, I'm not against it either. I think, yes, we have to go there as well, so, yeah.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Then does the Mayor wish to sum up?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. I was going to finish on the points that Councillor Taylor's just expressed, that there has probably been some movement around some capital projects in the speed in which Council has advised that they would like to see them realised, and in particular that car park. And so that may not have been a good site for this particular project, given there was a question mark over delivery and it being executed. That's changed now, so I think that has to be thrown into the mix. I think if we owned the land in which the car park in which we leased from the Queensland Ambulance, if we own that, you could build an argument that reduction in 5 car parks could easily be swallowed. There's still an argument against that. I think there is other places in town. So all this resolution is doing is ensuring that more due diligence is done by the decision makers. Because the Mayor's right, if we made a swift decision today and gave in principle support to the location which was in that letter, I think there would be a public backlash for the reduction of 5 car parks within the library. And so by the sound of it, it's going to get the support of the table, and I look forward to us reconsidering this in the upcoming weeks.
Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Thanks, gents.
Thank you.
Thank you. 14.2, Bassett Park Hire Agreement, Roma Campcraft Association. Councillor
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to move it, but it's a question for Manager Tanya.
Probably have a conflict here.
Oh, sorry.
I haven't put it in.
Okay, we'll just
Won't be a moment.
break while we get that conflict up.
Item number 14.2, description, Bassett Park Hire Agreement, Roma Campcraft Association. Claire counts for his Councillor Ladbroke. The person of interest is related party is my wife Alana, who is President of the Roma Show Society. Particulars of interest is Bassett Park Hire Agreement and the type of declarable conflict of interest. And the action I'll take is leave the room while the matter is being discussed and voted on.
Okay, so do we have a mover? Councillor,
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to move it.
just confirm that Councillor Ladbrook's left the room. Please go ahead, Councillor
A
McMahon.
question for Manager Tanya. Dot point 2, that's already been in the agreement from day one, hadn't it, all the way through?
Yeah, through
I
the
just-
chair, that it has been in there all the way through
Yeah.
the camp hire. From feedback we had through the Office of the CEO, that some members of the Camp Draft Committee had asked for the change to be made in regard to the additional fees for camping on site.
I'm not sure, but that doesn't, they've always had free camping since the day we did that agreement. Part of they pay for that in their fee. Their agreement clearly says that when you read through the definitions, that's just part of their agreement. That's why we put the fee up at the time.
Through the chair, I don't fully know the background on what.
No,
what's
you
happening
put-
here.
I've got
We-
copies
we
of them.
had
I've
been-
got copies of
We
both.
had been talking to the Camp Draft
Yeah.
Committee. They'd kind of gone silent. No one had been raising any issues with us as staff, and then we heard that it's come back through councillors. And then we contact the president to ask what the issue was, and he had to go to his committee of membership to find out because he wasn't aware
I
there
think
was
that
an
all,
issue.
Mr Mayor,
Okay.
that all erupted over the council staff sending out a bill for camping when it's clearly in the agreement and also in the fees and charges.
Wasn't that to do with the hire? Once you hired the grounds, you had camping for a certain amount of days or something?
Well, it's part of the agreement that that's why.
Did they pay for hire, like when
They
they
pay
were-
for hire, and when this,
Yeah, and then
in
camping was in-
2016, when that was introduced, the day rate went from about $100 a day to $400 or $500. It's now up to $600 in lieu of camping, because nobody was keeping track of it, and that's why in the user agreement that was all changed, and it's clearly defined in there. But last year, somebody from staff, I don't know what went on, just decided to send out a account for camping. Nobody knows how it came about, where they got their figures from or anything, so.
So Manager Tanya, from my recollection, what it is once you hire one of those facilities down there, we included camping for a certain amount of days, before and after.
That's not quite right, Mr Mayor. Anyone with the user agreement, and it's clearly listed in the...
Yeah, but because people come and camp before and camp after, what do you know about what we've done since 2000? What is it?
Well, the first one was 2016.
Yeah.
Well, through the chair, as regional facilities, we look after the agreement, as in terms of what happens at Bassett Park on the ground, what fees are charged and everything else. That sits with the local team. So I don't know what has been happening out there or what concerns there may have been expressed at that local level. All we do, or all I would be aware of, is the agreement.
Right, so as far as fees and charges and what's charged to use it,
That would be done through the local team. We don't do that.
Chair, we've got the Roma director sitting back there. There's a bit of a no. Look, my understanding is that actually we are charging camping fees to some of the horse groups, and this agreement would be an exception to that. But can't.
I mean, insofar as sorry, good morning, Councillor. Insofar as the fees and there's an ability to charge people for camping. What I was trying to get to here, I think, is in relation to with this agreement, we've consulted with the Camp Draft Association, and they're happy in relation to the structure in which this agreement looks like and the use and the payments of. I acknowledge, and I think in the report it even talks about that as potentially one of the risks or things is that the consistency or how other users may or may not be, the fees that they may or may not pay as well. So whilst it's, I guess, as background information about other places, fundamentally is the decision today is about the user agreement that's been drafted, that's been agreed to by the Camp Draft Association and the structure that it looks like.
So they've agreed to this?
Yes, the
That's
Camp Draft
right, Mr
Committee
Mayor.
has agreed
That's
to
why I
this
said,
agreement.
when I moved it, I wanted to ask a question, because it's actually been in there since 2016.
Could we have a copy of it? Because it's not. Where is the copy of an agreement? Because it's not in the report.
We can provide that copy.
I think we should lay it on the table. So
Yeah.
I would like to read the agreement that we're agreeing to.
And then in addition to that, we need the fees and charges too, because the fees and charges indicate what they pay, and it clearly says no camping in the fees and
So are
charges.
the fees and charges totally separate to the agreement?
Yes, the agreement says fees and charges of the, like,
Council's fees and charges. Yeah.
council's fees and charges of the financial, like they go up each year, or have been going up each year.
Yeah, but this is just so that they're allowed to use the ground.
And
But
it
they've already got that
specifically-
permission, is what I'm
It
saying.
specifically articulates
Their
the
hire
camping.
agreement, nothing to do with the fees and charges.
No.
So in the user agreements, the user agreements are every club that kind of uses Bassett
Yeah.
Park has a hire agreement. It says this is what council's responsible for, this is what you're responsible for. And generally, because those are agreements that run from between 3 to 5 years, we just reference in there that with fees and charges, we don't actually put a figure. We say as per council's fees and charges, because fees and charges can go up or down.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's actually no money attached to the
Not to this,
user
no, because it
agreement.
changes every year.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I've just circulated that too.
Mr Mayor, I move that we lay this on the table until we receive the information for the use agreement. I understand we might have got it, but we're not going to sit here and read it. So can I move that we lay it on the table to later in the meeting?
Sure.
Mr Mayor, I'm happy, I suggest we lay it on the table for a briefing, and then bring it to the next meeting.
Well, Councillor.
No,
Through the chair, what I have circulated to you is the current draft agreement and the proposed amendment, which was quite slow.
No, but I got the originals, not that amendment. Well, it's the same, except they put that extra line in it, yeah, altered that extra.
So do you want to later in the meeting, Councillor Hancock, or through a briefing?
Through you, Mr Mayor.
Only reason, Mr
Deputy,
Mayor, I'm
would you like-
suggesting later next, because most of us are committed this afternoon, we don't want to be holding the meeting up.
Oh,
yeah.
And do you think that it's worthy a briefing?
Well, yeah, I'm happy with it, because.
Just through the chair, I mean, the agreement's been supported by the user group.
Yeah.
The real difference between any other user group agreement that you're looking at is actually about free camping.
But they've got that in their original agreement.
And no, they don't.
Oh, they
That
do.
was the issue, was that the wording itself was excluded. The agreement was there, but the wording was excluded.
My
and we've worked
suggestion, Madam
to
CEO, is
articulate
we
that.
get the solicitors to read.
But does that matter? Look, because what we're deciding is the current user agreement now, which everybody's in
Yeah.
agreement of, and certainly what we'd say is different to other horse groups that are using the park at the moment, is that what council's considering as part of that is endorsing no camping. For some of the other groups, they're paying a per head, per capita.
Well, I
camping
don't know
fee.
anything about the other user agreements,
That's right.
but I would have think, well, George, the show committee, I don't know whether they do camping, but the race club, but they weren't paying for camping. That was in their agreement originally, I believe. I haven't seen it, but.
Yeah.
Oh, and the race club hire a fair bit of the facility,
But
but,
this
yeah.
is why it was all introduced for, Mr Mayor, so that they didn't have to go around counting the number of people camping and all that. And,
But this
So, Mr Mayor,
agreement
on the
resolves
basis of that, I am happy to move that we lay this on the table until a briefing of council, because it sounds like there is more discussion that we need to have on
discuss
this.
the agreement that already includes that, right, okay.
Righto. Okay, all those in favour of laying it on the table till a briefing? Okay, that's 7-0. We'll just adjourn for a minute.
So what's the
I
things on
just,
the side of the citizenship?
I definitely
and the
remember,
Arcade AGM that we
I
still-
definitely remember that
In June.
we had,
It's not tonight.
it's either in the last term or this term, people said the hire fees are too dear if you have to pay for camping on top of the hire fees for that horse area around there, down the bottom. And we agreed to make it all in one for like 4 days or something. So, and that's why if people stayed a lot longer, just so they camped there for a week, then they cop fees. So that's what I remember from my memory.
I can recall, I don't think I was present for it, but the Sport and Rec Coordinator brought a briefing paper to council, and it was regard to camping. But because it went to a briefing, not to
There's
a
no
meeting,
decision.
I don't really, there was no decision, I don't
we-
really know.
That
what the
original,
consensus was.
for the camp draft, that original user agreement was brought here and we ratified it. And I clearly remember we talked about it, as a new councillor, I picked up the daily rate for camp drafting was like, even now, you look now, dressage is $120 a day per horse, plus camping. And they bumped the camp draft one up and in lieu of not charging for camping. And
Can we not do this briefing now?
Yeah,
Can we do
but
it later?
The
We've
purpose
got
of the
time.
briefing is to what? Discuss the history of
Yeah.
how you got to this decision that you've got in front of you, righto.
And also dig out the fact that I believe that there is camping in the higher rates for a certain amount of time for team penning and the other ones that.
But the team penning, and
It'll go back to
they
your
clearly
fees.
says in there they've got to pay for camp draft, pay for camping.
Okay, so
Yeah,
if
well,
we can just. dig
anyway, I
out
don't know whether
up
it
to
was,
16
anyway,
agreement.
but
You've got to
we'll
read
do
the
it in
fees and
brief.
charges, Mr Mayor, it's in there.
Yeah,
And,
but someone came back to us and said it was too expensive and we did something. It might have been camp draft.
Dyson, are you going to the citizenship ceremony?
Yeah,
He
I
would
have
go
to.
lead it.
Curious because there's a lot, just making sure there was someone going to it.
He's got to lead it, he's the person who actually speaks.
He's the
in
only
it.
person that can do a conferral.
You know,
So
I
if he
do.
doesn't go, we've got a problem.
Just checking, councillor Guthrie, does Injune have a lawn cemetery?
Yes.
We do.
Right, okay, because I just, in the next one, it's got 2 that haven't got, I just want to make sure they're the right towns. Okay, we'll keep going with the meeting.
Oh, hang on, oh, he's back. Hey, sneaky.
I got it, I haven't got it.
He went.
17.1, local areas without lawn cemeteries. I'd like to move that a report be prepared for an upcoming council meeting incorporating the development of a business case in relation to the towns that do not have a lawn cemetery, Mitchell and Jackson, which could be considered for funding as part of Q2 budget review. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Burkett?
Did you say Jackson?
Yeah,
Jackson, I don't think it's not a usable one now, is it?
Well, I don't know, but we'll get it back in the report. It's not saying to do it, it's saying to get a report about it.
It's no longer service.
Okay, well, when I asked the staff, that's what came back, so.
What's it for?
No.
Yeah, but anyway, it'll get sorted out.
If it's not used after so many years, they get taken off the.
Well, that's a bit so if people don't die, they just cut it out.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
How silly
If you
rule
don't,
is that?
if it's so long before anyone's buried there,
They close it.
yeah.
Well, I think new town starts up and they're all 2-year-old and they've got a long life
Okay,
ahead of them.
I'll speak to the motion. I believe this is what, certainly has been, when we had certainly a difference of opinion about getting them all to come back together. I believe this will make this happen, and then we can consider all of the lawn cemeteries at the same time, part of Q2 budget review. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
Against?
Against?
For?
Yeah, I'm for.
So you're calling
Please
for
go
against?
ahead, councillor Hancock.
Yep. Mr Mayor, I'm actually highly offended about this agenda item report on behalf of the Surat community, because only 2 meetings ago, you voted against, and I'll quote, that council receive and note the report by way of council resolution OM/08.2023/35. Number 2, develop business cases for Surat and Mitchell lawn cemeteries. And 3, consider future upgrades of Surat and Mitchell cemeteries in accordance with council's strategic plan and capital works planning for the 2023-24 Q2 review. That's what you voted against 2 meetings ago. And now you bring this agenda item to today's meeting, wanting to go out and have a look at local areas without lawn cemeteries, which was part of the original report that was presented to this table, that all cemeteries were included in that report. It was part of it. You voted against Surat and Mitchell, but yet today you bring back to put Mitchell in. So I can only conclude 2 things from that. 1, you just don't support Surat having the opportunity to have a lawn cemetery. Or number 2, you just didn't support it because I was the councillor who brought it forward. So I am highly offended about this, because we have already included Mitchell into the previous resolution, Surat and Mitchell. And if I can remind councillors that the basis of this report, that the fact that we were even talking about lawn cemeteries came from a request from the Surat community. It came forward from them. This whole discussion about the lawn cemeteries started meetings and meetings and meetings ago, when it was brought forward as my councillor report. It went away. I agreed to add in to look at all the regions and to get that report to come back. When it came back to the table, it didn't have that information. We laid it on the table. I moved to lay it on the table. So we go back out and we get all the information. And then 2 meetings ago, we were provided with a report that had the information about the regional lawn cemeteries. And then council went and they voted to develop business cases for the Surat and Mitchell lawn cemeteries. You were against it because you thought it was a big decision. And other councils around this table thought that that we were rushing it through because we were going to consider it at a Q2 review. But yet, now we have the exact same resolution coming up that includes Mitchell, includes Jackson, but actually leaves Surat out. So this is highly offensive to the Surat community, and I am actually not against having a look at our regional cemeteries for the lawn cemeteries. I think it's a great idea. That's actually why I brought it to the table to begin with. So I am happy to go out and have a look at whether Jackson needs a lawn cemetery, but then in light of what Councillor McMullen has said, I'm not sure if they can. I'm happy to look at that. But this here, I will be voting against this today because I am highly offended on behalf of the Surat community.
Okay, does someone wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Guthrie?
Yeah, just following on from what Councillor Hancock is saying, when this came up a couple of weeks ago, I voted against it. And I was very, very upfront about the fact that I completely support the options of having lawn cemeteries available in local areas. And I was, I made comments very, very clearly that I am in support of having lawn cemeteries. I voted against it because I have an issue about the fact that it comes, a big ticket item like this, a very important item like this, to come as part of consideration for a Q2 budget review. I'm actually going to vote for this today because I feel that sometimes when we've got a number of different points to a resolution and you make the call, you actually look through all of the information contained in the report or in the proposed motion. I voted against it because I really truly believe that these big ticket items need to be projects of worthy note and need to go through and be part of budgetary considerations, and I voted against it. I am very aware, though, that my voting against it may appear, for those who don't watch the actual videotapes, that I was against lawn cemeteries. That is not the case. So I categorically say that that is not the case, but I think sometimes things get muddied and lost in translation, so I'm going to vote for today because, as I said, I still don't believe it should be going through a budget review. But I do believe that all of our communities should have lawn cemeteries, should they wish them.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion?
Was that for? That was for.
Against the motion? Councillor Taylor.
I'm just a bit confused. The motion 2 weeks ago, did it go through?
Yes.
So why is Mitchell up again now if we're already going to do it anyway?
We're going to consider it as Q2 if this gets up.
It
The
already
same
was.
time as Surat.
No,
That's what happened
that's
2
what's in
weeks
the
ago.
2 weeks ago.
No,
So 2 weeks ago, we
Got the
voted for
minutes.
Mitchell and Surat to investigate having lawn cemeteries. So today we're doing the same thing, but we're adding Jackson that possibly can't happen. So why are we doing it
we're
again?
basically making sure the whole region gets considered at the
So
same
really
time.
you're only adding Jackson today, but you're naming Mitchell again.
Yes, because I actually understood that we were actually going to look at the Q2 to fund Surat, and
No,
And Mitchell.
look, it's
And-
very clear.
I read the
and
minutes. Emma.
and that's what I really want to look at, all of the cemeteries being done at the same time. That's what the original motion was about.
But 2 weeks ago, we said Mitchell and Surat. Today, you're saying Mitchell and Jackson.
We
So
also-
why is Mitchell in today? And possibly the fact that Deputy Mayor said Jackson probably can't happen. What are we doing here now?
We're also getting, well, basically, the advice was that the two that didn't have it was Mitchell and Jackson.
But
and
we
I-
did Mitchell 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but we didn't get all of the information as well, but also, I wanted to find out which
You just
other
wanted
ones.
to bring it back to the table for the sake of bringing it back to the
No,
table.
not at all, but,
Well, I'll be voting against it because it doesn't make any sense.
okay, does anyone else wish to speak to the motion?
I'm going to move an amendment.
Please go ahead.
I'd like to move an amendment that, on the basis that Mitchell was included a fortnight ago, that Mitchell be removed from here because it's already part of the broader consideration.
25th of October.
And that was from the meeting on the 25th of
October.
October, and that it's just the consideration of Jackson. And given what, so that's what I'm moving, that we removed Mitchell because it's already covered in the minutes of the meeting 2 weeks ago.
Okay, I'm happy to accept that if it is covered the same. The main thing is I just want to get them all to be at the same time. Does the seconder,
Yeah, I'm happy, I'm ready to go to vote.
righto, does anyone else wish to speak?
So this is the amendment.
No,
It's a
no,
new
it's
motion
the,
and with an
I've
accepted
accepted
change.
it, so it is the motion.
Yeah, that's right. You've accepted
Yeah.
the
What is
amendment.
the motion?
Just the same with
So
it.
it's just, you're just removing the word Mitchell.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
Can I suggest an amendment to an amendment, if that's possible? I'm just
You
wondering.
can suggest another
Yeah,
amendment.
I'm just wondering why we even have to name any of the towns. Why can't we just leave it that we have a business case drawn up in relation to towns that do not have lawn cemeteries and leave it at that rather than identifying individual locations? Because part of that report coming will be, I would believe, an assessment of the situation in every town and whether or not, there, to me, it would come back and not just be Jackson.
Councillor Hancock?
Through you, Mr Mayor, Madam CEO, is Director Matt Gain here? Because he was the one who wrote the report. Our staff's already done this. It was considered on the 25th of October. We're just wasting their time.
No, through the chair, I mean, the chamber's
Well,
democratic and you've got a motion before you.
We have a,
There's a suggestion in relation to whether the word Jackson is removed, so that the intent is clear.
So that all of the cemeteries in our Maranoa are being considered. So rather than be specific and say Jackson now,
right, well,
make
I'm
sure that
happy-
every town's getting a look
I'm
in.
happy to change that. Is the second happy with that change? Okay, I'll speak, sum up if no one else wishes to speak. I don't get offended. I'm here to work positively as a councillor. I don't get offended. I give my opinion. The decisions of council are the decisions of council, and I certainly get on with it. So I'm happy to go whichever way council decides on this. All those in favour?
Sorry, can we just,
Make sure we got the.
haven't seen, you jumped in and summed up before you asked if there was anyone else to speak and wasn't.
No, I
finalised.
did. I've asked twice. Does anyone else wish to speak?
there's
And then you got an amendment.
Yeah, and 5 people have spoken.
So, do you understand the motion, councillor O'Neill?
Just reading. Yep.
All those in favour? All those against? And that's 6-2 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on.
Closed.
Are we doing later?
Yes.
No members any late open.
I haven't got it if we have one.
Confidential.
Mr Mayor, before we go into close, I'll have
Conflict.
I've got a conflict anyway, I don't bet anyone else.
Okay. We might do conflicts, eh? And we've got staff here from Mitchell that we
So
could
you're
go
looking
back
for
once we.
your confidential agenda, are you? Because I've got a second copy here. Apologies, I've just got.
Sorry, go back to what?
No, we'll do conflicts now. Council McMullen's got
I'll
one.
move that, I declare a conflict on C3. Permit to occupy applications, lots 51, 52 and 53 on plan H1491. The declaring council is myself, person with interest is myself and my partner Jean. Both particulars of interest, both my partner Jean and myself have an application for a permit to occupy a section of land adjacent to our block in Hodson. Type of conflicts is a declarable conflict of interest, and action is I'll leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, any other conflicts? Councillor Burke, I wonder if he's got a conflict.
Just through the chair, I'll just double check. I'm just trying to think.
I'm happy to move to go into closed.
Okay, please go ahead.
I'll move that in accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the council resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that its councillors consider as necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed, an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. C1, Services Building Roma. C2, request for council to purchase land lot 17 on W4091 Wallumbilla. C3, permit to occupy application lots 51, 52 and 53 on plan H1491. C4, Roma Quarry wholesale supply of materials tender consideration plan. C5, tender 24002, advertising Roma Airport and Sale Yard. C6, Bollen Road bitumen upgrade package 1 tender award. C7, provision for doubtful debt update. LC1, supply and delivery of quarry products and landscaping and associated materials. LC2, Ambipol agreements. LC3, property options Roma. And LC5, Bollen Road bitumen upgrade package 1. Oh, do we need to? We probably need to move that to put it on.
So through the chair, there's C6 is Bollen Road bitumen.
Oh, that's
upgrade.
already in? Oh, sorry, just as a number. Beg your
Just
pardon.
double checking. Yeah.
Sorry, Nikita. As moved.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor. Any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 7-0.
Minute keeper has requested we go to 8.2, Mr Mayor, to start in the open.
Page 39.
Was 80, was it? Yeah, right. 8.2. That is page 39.
What are we up in?
39 in the white.
Councillor
Late on
Sanders.
Yeah.
8.2, council's standing orders, proposed amendment. I'd like to move that council one amend, I might have already moved this.
You
didn't I?
have moved it,
Yeah.
I've got it down to Councillor Ladbroke seconded, then we moved.
A procedural motion.
Later.
Okay, I'll talk to this. This is, I think, a very good idea to give a short summary of the debate. Otherwise, people can read the minutes and not realise why people voted a different way. And I believe this is part of democracy and open and transparent decision making. So I'll certainly be supporting this motion.
It's just frozen up there.
Frozen again.
Yeah, we'll generate a power, so it's lovely.
I just wonder, Mr Mayor, if you could just explain to me how this would work exactly?
Yeah, sure. So when it's only for split decisions, right? So if we've got a split decision and we vote different ways,
So 5-4.
5-4, anything, it would just say what was the reason that you voted for or against it, and it's just a summary. It's not.
If they choose to.
Yeah, and basically, and we've done this in the past, and it was really good, and it was just actually more interesting minutes, because minutes are normally just the decision, but this is a little bit of an overview, and I think it's good. Like you might say, well, I wanted the park, but I was worried about the dam in the park or something. That could be.
So if the decision went 5-4 and 5-1 and 4 were against, do you say why the 5 was for, or why for everybody? So everybody had a different opinion. So the whole 9.
If they did, or it could be a general summary of it. So it's more a summary of why people. It's not.
So similar to what the paper looks at it, and they quote things out of the.
Yeah, but it's more of a summary, and it would be done with the staff, right? So the staff would do it.
So somebody else decides that they basically, it's their interpretation of what.
Yeah, it's a summary of it, and that's all it is. Councillor Guthrie.
Can you just give a brief understanding about how it was done before? You said it's been done before. How was it done? What was the practical
Yeah, well,
aspect?
basically, obviously, who would it be? CEO would normally be the minute, like the.
My understanding that you said was that Kelly used to write a short summary. She used to listen to the debate and then put a short summary at the end of that.
Yeah, and it wasn't the whole transcript, but it gave you a general understanding of why. It's not picking sides or anything. It's just really what we were talking about there. So, and I think it would be more beneficial. Like the video is interesting to listen to if you've got time, because you get it all. This would just be to condense it so it's not a huge amount of extra work. Councillor Hancock.
My question is that we've been sitting at this table for 3.5 years and happy with standing orders. Why now are we changing them?
I wasn't actually probably even happy that we changed them last time. I thought they were good, but I think that this will enhance people reading the minutes and getting more out of the minutes, understanding more the thoughts, and I think that's a really good thing.
So why didn't you change them at the beginning of the term?
Well, we do things. It's just really when it comes up that you decide to put a report in. So, yeah. Did you want to speak to or for the motion, Councillor Hancock?
Well, no one has spoken for the motion.
Yeah.
We're just
I
asking
have.
questions.
I
You
have.
just did?
Yeah.
Was there any
The
other
small-
questions?
Oh, there's any,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, okay.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
I'm happy to speak against the motion.
Please go ahead, councillor Hancock.
I'm going to speak against this motion because I actually think this is a knee-jerk reaction to minutes that were read at a local community group meeting, and it was just factual. Our minutes are factual, and the reason they're factual is because they don't have anybody else's spin on what's happened at a meeting. It is just the facts. If our community want to know why a councillor voted the way they voted, they've now got a video that they can get onto, and know that they can actually ring and ask us. They can ask us why we voted a certain way. We record the division so that the community knows that you voted for or against a resolution. So therefore, I don't think we need to put it on staff and have extra work on our staff to then go and put a spiel behind that as to why we voted a certain way. And I would like to think, I'm a bit concerned that you might have this huge paragraph under it, because there could be 4 different people sitting around this table that voted on it for 4 different reasons. And I don't think it's actually fair to put that on staff to come up with a paragraph as to why a council voted a certain way. I think if people are interested, they'll go and listen to the video, or they'll pick up the phone call and ask you as to why you voted a certain way.
Does anyone wish to speak for the motion?
I just want to speak, Mr Mayor. I think there's only about 300 people out of the 13,000, whatever this, do watch it, and that's that's their choice. But I remember there was a contentious issue I had with council on a subject matter, and I looked it up 2018, and it was pointless because I couldn't get a read on, because it was changed, it was amended and changed. I didn't have a reflection on why or who and why it was changed, the request I put in. So having that then would have been really helpful to answer our community group at the time. So I think there's going to be cases where it can be beneficial. That's definitely a case, that one, because we had no explanation at all. So yeah, I think in that light it'd be good.
Okay, does someone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor O'Neill?
I'm going to speak against it. I mean, it's factual to state that the previous term of council did have a time where a interpretation of what was said in the chamber was put into the minutes. That was before the meetings were recorded, because that in fact only started in this term of council. So Kelly wasn't going back and having a look at, the minute taker wasn't going back to have a look at the meeting to then get an interpretation, because we didn't record the meetings. There is legal advice. I know you haven't been able to find that, but we got legal advice that it was not appropriate for an interpretation to be embedded in the minutes. The minutes of the meeting are a reflection of the decisions that are made at the council meeting. In the last year of the previous term, requested, which wasn't supported, and that's fine, that council explore the recording of and live streaming of our meetings. COVID forced our hand this term that it had to be done, and I think it's been a really good thing, because there are interested people in what happens in this chamber out there in our community, and they live busy lives and can't always sit in the chamber, but they can access the proceedings of our meetings via YouTube. And I think that's been a really welcomed addition, and the community have said as such. What I don't want to get to is a point where there is interpretations of debates being articulated by someone that hasn't expressed it. We have an opportunity now to direct anyone and everyone that's interested in anything that happens in this chamber with our debates to watch it. We did until recently, and it was been remiss of me not to raise this, Edwina. Community members have asked me why we now don't have a contents page on our website for our recorded meetings where if they want to go and look at this matter, you know, item 8.2, it has 8.2 started at 2:34 in the.
It actually takes 4 hours to produce that.
But it was really
information
well
and
received by the community.
Yeah, for 200 people, it's probably the return on investment when you can upload all of that material without having to bookmark.
So I just expressed that there are people
sure.
out there that are drawn to going and having a look at the particular debates.
Yeah.
And so that's been incredibly valuable for us as decision makers as well as the community, that there is no wrong interpretations of what individuals are saying in this place because it's recorded. The media can go and have a look at it, and often, you said it before, Councillor Burkett, they go and pick stuff out from the meeting and plonk it in the paper. That's okay because that's coming out of the individual's mouth.
That's probably the unintended consequence.
It's
of
no, I think it's a positive unintended consequence, because then it's factual about what's happening in here, and they're not sitting here, and what they might now get is an interpretation of an individual of what the debate is, and that's not a true reflection of the meeting. What a true reflection of the meeting is when it's recorded on the camera and people can go and view that. When they look at the minutes of a meeting, it's the decisions made in the meeting. And I've got to say, this is the this term and some part of last term, it was a major shift that whenever there was a vote that wasn't unanimous, the mayor would call for a division, where historically, and this goes back long before Maranoa Regional Council was formed, the Act allowed an individual, if they felt so compelled that they wanted their name recorded against which way they voted, they would call for a division. But in my first term, when there was a 6-3, a 7-2, an 8-1, a 5-4 vote, there was never a division called, and therefore the names weren't recorded. And so there was, if the individual, one of them, and I think I did it once or twice because I felt so strongly about a particular issue, but now it's on everything, and people can see exactly who was in the zoo, right? On the minutes. They can see that on the recordings, and that's where we should be directing them so they get the full debate that happens in this chamber, not a interpretation of the collective discussion embedded in the minutes. So on that basis, I can't support this, and I think we should be strongly encouraging our community to keep engaged and to view the proceedings in their entirety through our recorded council videos.
Does anyone wish to speak for the motion or against the motion? Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to see what the minute taker's going to write on that little bit when it comes up. And the other thing is, if it was 4 hours to do the content, it'd be
Bookmarking.
for that.
What they call bookmarking.
For that,
Yep.
yeah. Be interesting how long it takes to do all the things against. But I too will be voting against it because I really don't believe it's necessary. As you say, they can watch the video if they're that interested, and I just also don't know how they can interpret what's said in the right form, so I won't be voting for it either.
Does anybody else wish to speak? I'll sum up. I know that you can get two lots of legal advice and you can get two different opinions. That's why you have lawyers that verse each other in court. So it depends who asked for the legal advice, what was the questions, and it was also depending what the lawyer thought at the time. So to me, I think this is totally part of open and transparent government, and I'll certainly be supporting this, and I think the minutes will have far more interest when people get, it's pretty simple. If everyone is for something, it's very easy to understand. Everyone voted for it, but it's great to see different points of view and to be able to get that fed back in there. And it's not meant to be political in any way. It's actually what happened at the council meeting if people had time to sit in here and watch it. Okay, and on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 5-3 if I can call for a division. Okay.
No, that's 3-5.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry. 3-5 lost, yeah.
Okay. And
Yep.
that was councillor Guthrie, the mayor, and councillor Radford. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now moving on to closed.
We're finished in the open now, have we?
What did we do? Oh, Bassett Park's coming back, isn't it? The
That was four.
Is it coming back?
the draft association.
The usual agreement, yeah, through
Where's
the
the
chair.
next?
That was 4-4, wasn't it? 1, 2,
No.
No, that was 5.
Virgo voted out.
It was 3-5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Was the camp draft coming back, was it?
I think it's coming back. That's what we
To a
decided,
briefing,
wasn't it? To a briefing.
yeah.
So then we finished that agenda. That.
Yep.
paper.
Yes.
C1 Services Building, Roma. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the council, 1, lists for inclusion sufficient funds to effect the purchase of the buildings in situ in the quarterly budget review process of the 23-24 financial year. Should we list Q2?
Yeah, through the chair. You can adjust that if you wish, yes.
So for Q2 budget review. 2, subject to sufficient funds being approved and allocated during the budget quarterly review process above, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to finalise negotiations with Endeavour Foundation Incorporated, Queensland, in relation to the acquisition of the buildings located at 85 to 91 Bowen Street, Roma, with the purchase to be conditional on the successful transfer of the the educational reserve on which the buildings are located to council's trusteeship. 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to apply to the Department of Resources to have the trusteeship of the Educational Institution Reserve described as Lot 4 on R86106 transferred from the Endeavour Foundation Incorporated, Queensland to council. And 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to execute all contracts and other documentation associated with finalising this matter.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Thanks very much through the chair. Council over the last couple of years has invested a lot of time and resources, projects backed by other levels of government into what is turning into be a wonderful youth precinct. This acquisition of the former Endeavour Foundation building would allow a opportunity for council to build a very strong business case in addressing a myriad of issues that our community is facing in and around the broad topic of youth. I urge councillors to support this today because I think this will be a strategic investment that will go a long way into addressing short-term issues, but building a broader precinct into an asset that will add to the livability of our community and the families that call Roma and the Maranoa home.
Does someone else wish to speak to the motion? I'll speak to the motion. I'll certainly be supporting this purchase. I do believe we need more buildings for childcare. Obviously, we need to have more educators, more people that are overseeing the children. But in the long run, we need more childcare and after-school care, holiday care. We need more of all of it. I believe getting this building will give us options. Obviously, it is close to the youth precinct as well, but buildings are very expensive to build, and I think we should have this and have options in the future to grow, to provide services for the people of the Maranoa. Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
No, thank you.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Page 63.
C2, request for council to purchase land on lot 17 on W4091 Wallumbilla. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that council decline the request to purchase part of lot 17 on W4091 located at 48 May Street, Wallumbilla.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 7-1 if I can call for a division.
Yeah, I know.
Page 68. Oh, yeah, councillor McMullen.
Not even waiting for it to get called.
No,
It's
no.
gotta work, doesn't it?
He'd be like you, you're preempting.
Let's get on with it.
68.
So page 68.
C3, permit to occupy application lot 51, 52, 53 on plan H1491. Councillor Guthrie.
I'd like to move that Council 1 advise the applicant and the Department of Resources that Council has no objection to the permit to occupy in respect to lots 51, 52 and 53 on plan H1491. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign documentation related to this decision with the following recommended conditions. A, double gates are installed at the 3 road entry locations within the proposed permit area. B, that the gate may not be locked. C, that signage is installed to indicate the location of the public road. And D, make reference to the council's reasons stated in the application for the Hodson Bore Water Facility and council's consideration of the proposed permit's effect on alternative routes to the designated travelling stock water facility.
Yeah, we have a seconder. Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 7-0. C3, C4, Roma Quarry Wholesale Supply of Materials Tender Consideration Plan.
Through the chair, copies of that.
It's up there,
Yeah, great, good.
the bottom one.
Right, have we got, is that all we need for this?
Yes.
That council invite by way of public tender proposals for the wholesale supply of delivery of quarry products, including storage for the Roma Quarry.
I'll second.
Councillor Ladbrook. And now, does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Can I just ask a question? Maybe 1 is actually 2 and 1 will be council endorse the tender documents presented, which have been circulated.
Okay. We'll just adjourn for a minute. Have we got a set? Where
Yeah,
are
you
they?
have, they're here somewhere.
And while we're adjourned, Edwina,
Is that it?
Yes, so that was just with the relevant changes. I put a bit more space in relation
Yeah,
to
but all
that.
like me.
Tidied up the wording
Neat.
around partially prepared aggregate.
Don't know what's going
For
on. It's
example,
neat.
and then broke that down into those things. That's where the specification is, and that's, and then just made the right adjustments around the tender. And that's a spec which just
you're
sits
gonna
at the
be-
back end of that.
Can be finished early too.
Edwina, have we got a draft alternate resolution for the C5, the advertising Roma Airport and Sale Yard? Or
I
are
can
we
certainly-
just rejecting it outright?
I think the discussion was
Unless you lay it on
the
the table.
latter.
Hey?
I think I can certainly ask officers to come up with an alternative.
Thought we were just going to reject it, were we?
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
certainly that, and there was some considerations.
Yeah, it's on the, it's up here,
Yeah,
what we were decided.
there was that, to negotiate.
Oh,
Yeah.
only, okay, point 2, yeah,
Yeah.
beg your pardon,
Yep.
thank you,
Sure,
thanks
thank you.
Nikita.
All
Right.
over it.
Look out, Kelly, you mightn't have a job.
She's good, isn't she?
Kelly, we have to be over here when she comes back.
Righto. Okay, we'll keep going with the meeting. Back to C4. I'll like to move that council, 1, endorse the tender documents presented, 2, invite by way of public tender proposals for the wholesale supply of delivery of quarry products, including storage for the Roma quarry.
Delivered.
Delivered, not
Yeah, just
delivery.
through the chair.
Supply of
Delivered.
delivered quarry products, including storage for the Roma quarry.
But that makes sense.
So councillor Ladbrook, I think you
Yeah.
you did that.
He's already
Yeah,
said
you
that.
happy with that change?
Yes, sir.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
No, we circled back because we added something.
In the white page, Mr Mayor.
Oh, that one, yeah.
No,
No, no.
C5 first.
Page
C5.
110.
Page 110 in the red.
Okay,
This is
tender
the,
C5 tender 24002, advertising Roma Airport and Sayards. Councillor
I'll
O'Neill.
move the council, 1, reject the offers received for tender 24002 on the grounds of scope, price and term. 2, authorise the chief executive officer or delegate to negotiate suitable terms and prices for advertising at the Roma Airport terminal and sale yards, sale yards facility only. Yeah.
Yep.
So you mean the buildings sort of thing?
Yeah.
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 Happy to second that.
Councillor Hancock.
Happy to second that.
Right, I've got a seconder. Does anyone wish to speak to it?
The director might
Oh,
have
the
something.
director.
Did you have any comments?
I did.
Please go ahead.
If I could. Just in relation to the wording for dot point 2, where it said terminal, we also had the word entry.
I saw the word
Yes, right,
in
yeah,
there.
so-
There is, within the airport driveway, there is a proposal from one of the tenderers about a billboard there.
Digital one?
No, a static sign.
Yep.
It's within the it's within the airport proper,
But outside the building, outside the.
but it's outside of the building.
Yeah.
So maybe
Entry and
Director
terminal.
Dean, prices for advertising at the Roma Airport Terminal, comma, Roma Airport,
Driveway.
drive.
I had the word entry because there's a proposal about on the northern side of the driveway. There's a proposal for a billboard there, and there's a proposal for one within near the car park, and so that doesn't impinge on or doesn't challenge those other existing signs in any way, shape, or fashion, and just gives us some flexibility to talk to the providers. That's all.
Roma Airport entry driveway.
That's fine.
Because that sort of will
Drive?
cover that whole lot there.
Well, entry
The
drive.
end drive. Entry
Yeah,
and
because
drive.
it
Entry
is that long.
drive.
Because it splits off too, doesn't it? Does that count?
I don't have it for everyone. That's all. But
Yeah, we got it on our
as I said,
laptop.
there's a
But it's
couple of.
coming back to us anyway, isn't it? We're not making a decision today, so you'll go and negotiate and then bring back what you
We
got.
just sort everything
Would
out.
you rather the word just entry?
Yeah.
Is that what you'd like, Director?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what,
Okay.
Roma Airport entry.
Also,
Just through the chair, so we're clear, is that is actually saying you're rejecting the whole tender, but you're actually giving us delegation to go away and negotiate suitable terms. It doesn't necessarily mean it needs to come back to council.
I was just going to add that though.
Yeah.
3. And
An update.
terms be brought back to council at a future council meeting.
Ian won't be able to that Ian.
That council
Be provided.
be provided. Yeah.
With the terms.
Also, councillor O'Neill, would you have any appetite to put in there with a direction around 5 by 5 rather than 10 by 10, as it's an extremely long amount
Yeah.
of time?
Well, it says to negotiate suitable terms, so.
But if we don't give any guidance, like,
you could up prices, and you could put comma.
Like some
no greater
guidance
than
on
5.
how long you want the commitment for.
Yep.
Yeah, to negotiate suitable terms.
Even
Brackets,
five's a
5 by
long
5.
time, isn't it?
It
really?
is.
Brackets, yeah,
You know,
5 by
even
5.
three,
Yep.
three,
Yep.
three.
What do you, in the sawmill?
Yep.
Yeah.
Director Dean, are you happy with that, number 2?
33.
It would be fair to say in the original draft, with respect to, I'm mindful about the words outside of the thing, with respect to one of the submissions around a 10 by 10, that was certainly a part of the, if the resolution was for us to then negotiate the final terms, we were certainly going to have a conversation in relation to the 10 by 10. We think that was quite a long time. We concur that that's it. So, so the 5 by 5 would be reasonable, I think. You got to appreciate people are going to invest tens of thousands of dollars in infrastructure, and they've done the math to try and get their return on that. And when you start to shorten that up to something less than 5 by 5, perhaps it may not be viable for them, or the model that they've given to provide a return to us may not have been.
5 by 5.
For example, or terms such as 5 by 5 or.
You might
Or
just
to
have
You
to,
guys know. Are you
To be
happy?
negotiated.
you might have to wiggle it.
Could be 7
Some
by
of them-
7.
So is the second happy with that? We've got to keep going with the meeting.
As long as that gives you wriggle room
That's
to be able to
fine.
negotiate, yep.
Well, the
They
terms
might-
are coming
they might
back.
have-
Yeah, that's right.
They might only
Yeah.
have a look at 10 by 10.
Yep.
You
And
wouldn't
then,
know.
yes.
I'm happy with
Okay.
that.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Righto, moving on.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
What number is this one? This will be C.
Page
Got a separate,
125.
6?
Yeah,
It
but it's up on the-
hasn't got a number. It's,
C6.
C6, Bollen Road bitumen upgrade, package 1 tender award. Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that Council 1 select Suffocon Proprietary Limited as a preferred tenderer for tender 24028 Bollen Road Bitumen Upgrade Project, Package 1. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter in negotiations with Suffocon Proprietary Limited, noting that the current contract sum of $6,821,370 exclusive of GST, and execute the contract if the negotiations and final terms are acceptable. 3, assign expenditure to W024331, being the budget allocation for the remote road upgrade pilot program, Bollen Road bitumen extension.
We have a second, Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Oh, Mr. Just to say, thanks to Deputy Director Cam and his team for not only obtaining the funding, but negotiating this and getting the plans all up in place, ready to go. And I think it's going to be great for the people down the Bollen Road who've been long-suffering people driving on gravel roads. So this will be a little start to some good things to come. So congratulations, Cam.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Taylor.
I too would like to thank Deputy Director. I have met one of the mums that go up that road and she's so excited. So this is the first stage of it and it'll be very well received. So thank you to all involved.
Does anyone else wish to speak? I'll speak. This is part of 20 kilometres of bitumen plus even another section after that. This is a major investment council has made and a big nod to the federal government for making it happen. So this is the first package. We know that this is this changes people's mindset when you're on bitumen rather than dirt. And we're looking forward to delivering that for the people of the Maranoa that travel that Mitchell-Bollen Road. And it will also have over time an opportunity for us to put the maintenance money we have on that such a long road to actually focus on the bits that are not, whilst it's still a long way, focus on the bits that are still dirt. So, you know, this is a great good news story for council and the partnership we've got with the federal government on the remote roads area program funding. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
I do, but can I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Through the chair, to the Deputy Director, just remind me, the funding in which this is coming from, that we're able to award this tender, it is the one that straddled the two governments, isn't it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all right. No, I'm happy to speak. I too, like Councillor Taylor, spoke with one of the residents down there at the Roma Rural Student Hostel end of year celebration the other day, and they're pretty excited. You know, this type of infrastructure investment, evidently will change lives. It will make her being a mum of 3 kids, easier because they will be travelling formed roads, formed bitumen roads. And so I want to pay credit in speaking in favour of awarding this tender to the staff that are involved in ensuring that this investment continued after the change of a federal government. Too often you see commitments made in the last months of a government get overturned when the new government comes into play, and it'll be the work that our staff have put in and the advocacy to ensure that the new government saw that this was a valuable investment into a regional community. So I want to pay credit to the staff that are involved in that. It takes a lot of work to do that in the background, and I can't wait to see this come to fruition and the next lengths that will occur over the coming months as well. So all credit, and look forward to driving over it myself.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Just on that note too, we made representations to Canberra about that. So that was something that a lot of the mayors did that had roads involved. So just with the new government, and we're very glad the federal government did keep this program going. Councillor Burkett.
I'll just sum up.
Please go ahead.
Just also when we were out and about with the mayor, we spoke with down the Bollen Road, right down in the Red Country, and to a 4th generation farmers, graziers, and they were pretty ecstatic when we told them the news that that was going to happen, because they'd been long time sufferers. But also it's a benefit to everyone, and I know the environment's changed, and the fact that when the mothers do go to town, they don't just drive the family car, they're driving a truck or a 4-wheel drive with a trailer. So the roads do need upgrading, and it also makes it a bit more pleasurable for the mums and the kids to go in for sport and that as well, not going over corrugated roads. So once again, thank to all involved, and I look forward to see it come to fruition.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Righto, moving on.
Thank you.
C7, provision of doubtful debt update. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that Council receive and note the officer's report as presented.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay. So, moving on to LC1. LC1, supply and delivery of quarry products and landscaping and associated material. Councillor Burkett.
It's changed. I was looking for that nice little quick one in the book. I'd like to move the Council 1 acknowledge that this resolution enacts OM/11.2023/43. 2, authorise the CEO to implement the following solutions. Solutions: advise all staff that they must not purchase products from contractors if they do not have the necessary approvals. Advise all staff when preparing a request for a quote or tender that requires quarry or landscaping supplies that there must be a requirement on behalf of the supplier to provide evidence that the products have been sourced from a legislatively compliant source, Have procurement staff check the supplier when reviewing their requisition for these products prior to approval. Develop a register of pre-qualified suppliers for quarry and landscaping products with the compliance specifications only purchased from that register.
We have a second, Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. LC2, Amby Hall agreements. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that Council 1 acknowledge Resolution OM dash 04.2022/16. 2. Receive and note the report advising that draft agreements have not been executed as agreement has not been reached with any or each of the user groups. 3. Resume the day-to-day operation and management of the Amby Hall and grounds to ensure continued community access. 4. Take control of sole access to the building as soon as reasonably practicable.
We have a second, Councillor Taylor. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Mr Mayor, I just think in light of the unrest amongst the groups there, this is the best way forward for council to take control of it.
That's it.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Then page 9.
Page 9. LC3 Property Options Roma. I'd like to move that council consider pursuing further information and evaluation about the property presented in the report. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ladbroke. I'll speak to the motion. Councillors, we have an opportunity today to solve probably and affect the opportunity for 3 different groups. There is a situation here that will not get solved unless we make a decision here today. You're not making a financial decision today, it's about getting more information. But what I'm asking you today as councillors is to consider solving a problem. This council, I believe, does its best work when it solves problems and doesn't get hung up on the individual things. And if you have an opportunity to consider, we need to be in the basis of how do we solve the short-term problem, and then we can make long-term decisions separate. But what I am asking you as Mayor is to consider supporting this resolution and getting more information at the next meeting for your consideration. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion?
Mr Mayor, I won't be supporting this, Mr Mayor. I don't believe this is the correct direction to go to resolve the issue at hand.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion?
Well, I'll support this because it's not a financial outlay at the moment, it's just to get information, so I'm happy to kick along the road a bit.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Taylor?
I won't be supporting it either because I know what you're trying to do. I just think you're going the wrong way. I prefer to have a look at different options, and as the Deputy Mayor said, this is not the way to do what you want to do. This is not going to solve the problem.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Then I'll sum up. Well, I have a difference of opinion, and every time that I've suggested something and we've done it, it seemed to actually solve the problem. So I think this will. It may not be people's preferred choice, and all I'm asking councillors to do is to consider getting the extra information and to see whether there's an opportunity that we can do, and you can change someone's Christmas for multiple people by solving individual problems. So what I'm asking you is Mayor is to consider supporting this motion. So we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Lost 4, 3, 4. Okay, any further business, councillors?
I do.
Please go ahead.
I've got a notice.
How did we get 3-4 out of that? There's 8 of us voting.
3,
3-5's on the
three,
board. I
five.
thought someone said 3-4.
Oh, that may be.
And,
Long day.
I've got a motion
Please
without
go ahead.
notice. Yep. The title of the motion without notice is Council Housing Solutions.
Is in staff housing or?
Yeah. So I'd like to, do you want me to, I can't remember how we do this. Do I read out the resolution and then we decide? Is that what we do?
Oh, we've got to put it on the agenda first, have
Yeah,
we?
you've got to put it on the agenda first. It'd be probably giving an overview of what you're trying to do and then see if there's a seconder to get that on the agenda.
The overview is to address the current housing crisis that us as Maranoa Regional Council as employers are facing.
I'll second that to put on the agenda. Is that what you?
Yeah.
All those in favour?
And the resolution reads, thanks Nikita, that council seek an urgent report from the CEO or delegate detailing the current issues around attracting staff due to the region's housing crisis and solutions for council to consider at our next ordinary meeting in December.
Second.
We have a seconder, Councillor Burkett.
Just through the chair, just recognising there'll be no personal details involved in that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's your prerogative.
Okay, all those in favour?
Of what?
Oh, do you want?
I just have a
Oh,
question.
do you want to speak to it, do you?
Jeff, I can.
Please go ahead.
I have a question.
Yep.
Haven't we been doing this for the last 6 months, going through stuff, talking about accommodation, land, all that stuff? We do that every meeting. So what's the difference?
This is about staff. Staff housing.
Well, we've talked about staff housing as well. We've talked about everyone
And through
housing.
the chair, the
Well, this is
councillor
gonna
can
be-
talk to his motion and give us some understanding in relation to that.
Thanks, Chair. I raised this today from conversations that we've had across today's council meeting, that Maranoa Regional Council, as a major employer within the region, delivering services for our community, are not immune to the issues around the housing and lack of housing that our region is facing. I know that we have spoken at length about land. What we haven't done, we haven't spoken about whether it's we've reached a point where us as a organisation, as a business, need to acquire housing to ensure that we can attract people into our community that work for council. So again, deliver on the services that our community so greatly rely on. If we have a number of staff that we are trying to bring into the region that can't come here because of the pressures that our communities are facing around the lack of housing, then we need to, as a council, stump up and look at some solutions to address this pretty quickly. And so I think, and the language is clear, this is urgent, and we need to be addressing this as employer. Just as I've got to say that more broadly, we need to be looking at the bricks and mortar solutions to increase the housing stock into our region. That's not necessarily building new houses, that's acquiring houses and attracting people to invest in our community. So we don't see 2024 be the same as 2023, where one of the stumbling blocks in our businesses in the community and council are facing is that they can't get people into our towns because we can't house them. And so that's the background to this. It should be it shouldn't be new, any of these issues to councillors, and I urge you all to support it today so that we can look at some tangible solutions in December to see if we can fix this for the start of 2024.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
I'll speak for Mr Mayor. I totally agree. I think it's a next step we need to do. Education Queensland has done it in the smaller towns, and a lot of that was getting rid of older houses and on-selling them to the community members, but also improving their housing stock to bring to encourage people to move to the area. I think we're in a similar situation. We've got some older council stock that we could on-sell and upgrade, as well as look at purchasing new buildings to entice people to come to our community, because I think we're desperate at the moment to do that. So, yeah, fully supported.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Any further business, councillors?
I think we're done, are we?
We'll close
We didn't
the-
miss any, Nikki?
Close the meeting at 4:27 PM, and thank you for your attendance.